It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Sci-Fi and Friends Podcast, episode number 71. Alrighty, it is April 3rd, Sunday afternoon. What's going on in the simulation today? Pretty sure that Russia's still invading the Ukraine. Bitcoin is up. The metaverse is being created. And I just discovered the thing called the egg theory, and I can't stop thinking about it. Go look it up. Anyway, everything's good. Everything's good. I hope everything is good with you. Alrighty, my guest today is another black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. He is the owner and lead instructor at Pirata Jiu Jitsu in Independence, Missouri, right outside Kansas City, Missouri. He is a no-gi pans amateur champion at black belt and three-time IBJJF national champion. Please enjoy my conversation with the pirate, Devin Pirata. It's weird.
You get used to it?
I've gotten used to it. I've forced myself because I have to edit this.
Yeah.
So I've spent. Yeah, I have to listen to myself, and sometimes I'm like, that guy's pretty cool, and sometimes I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and I have to hear it and see myself. So I've just taken it as a lesson, like an unbiased point of view that I have to watch myself. And so let's see. I mean, when I had a beard, I was just all the time. And so I got to see those things that I maybe not aware of because that camera doesn't lie. Yeah. So you hear your voice a lot. And then
so that's why I spit out the gum too. I'm sure that'd get really annoying if I was just chewing gum the whole time.
Somebody, I feel like I've had someone do that, either the gum or like a pen. They were just going at it and easy, chill out, buddy, chill out.
You mind if I have one out?
No, you don't have to wear them.
I'm blind in this eye, so this year's kind of I can hear a little bit less out this year. Yeah. But so I just want to. I don't know why. I mean, I could hear it fine here, but I want to make sure. Yeah. I'm hearing.
Yeah. No, fine. Some people do that. Some people don't wear them. I think JW and I wore them, but sometimes a little disorienting. But sometimes it's nice because I can whisper and you can still hear. We don't have to
yell at each other.
Mm-hmm. How did you lose your vision?
Well, I'm saying that I think over time, because I've been blind since '89 in my one eye, I think I don't know if it's a sense thing, but this year just does not work as good on this side, and I think it's because I'm blind in this eye. Yeah. Because I'll lay on my pillow, I'll lay on this side and I don't hear anything, and then I lay on this side and I can hear my heartbeat. I can hear everything. You know what I'm saying?
Supersonic.
So it's weird. Huh. So, but I went blind. I had a dart fall in my eye when I was a kid.
Ooh, you say fall?
Yeah, so the way my mom tells it, because I was a year old at the time, I think almost exactly a year old at the time, 1989, and I had reached up, and which this is another weird part of that story, my dad at the time, that we thought were my dad, he was playing darts, he had friends over. I reached up to reach for a sandwich that my mom had made for me, and I pulled the dart down. So it fell in my eye. It landed clean in my eye. And I guess it was there for not very long, but I didn't make any noise. So when my mom saw it, she pulled it out immediately. She freaked and pulled it out. So rushed to the hospital, surgery, had to cut off my cornea. I can't remember what else they could do. I have a little bit of peripheral, but this eye's basically worthless. So,
do you remember that?
I have no memory of it at all.
Memory.
No, I remember there was a time, I don't know, I'm not sure what age to where they had to tell me I was blind in one eye.
Really? Because that was normal.
Yeah, I just grew up that way, and then they started patching my good eye to try to make this one stronger, but there's nothing I didn't take. I'm not sure how that works. There was no way I was going to see out of this eye. I don't know why they would do it to try to see if it would take, but it just didn't take. So I've never known what it's like to see out of two eyes. Yeah. So, but that's that's why my nickname's Pirate and Pirata and all that. So that's how that is.
That makes sense.
That's not my real last name.
Pirata?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. My real last name.
Do you want to reveal your real last name? People know?
People know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I used to be all over everything. You look anything up on an IBJJF or Flow Grappling, it's my real last name because it has to be. But I like the fact that people don't know it and people think that's my last name.
Yeah, I had no idea.
If it's not official, that's just what I use. Just because I have no relation to my last name. So I don't care to use it that much. And I feel like I'm too far along to change it now. So and most people think I'm Pirata, so I just go by that.
You are Pirata, dude. Yeah.
That's, if I didn't tell you that,
No, I would have
most would
never
never
known.
known. Yeah.
No, I've actually had the thought of like, that's a cool last name.
Yeah, man. There was a time I was going to, I thought about switching it just when I was younger and dumb. But I don't think I could do it.
Yeah. Oh, like actually, like
Change
legitly
it.
switching
Yeah.
it. Yeah. I mean, what is it, like $200 fee or something?
I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I kind of looked into the process and then I stopped. I had a daughter and I was like, well, it's not going to matter anyways.
Yeah.
She'll get married. Her name will change.
Right.
Then I had a son. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
They both now have last names that they have no relation to. My wife has my last name. We have, it's a weird situation. It's all a weird situation, how it all happened. But I prefer to be called. I just enjoy that people think that. And in the circle I'm in, that's what people call me anyway. So it didn't really matter. So I think it'd be too much of a hassle to change it now.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I mean, might be worth it. It's kind of cool.
It might. Yeah.
To me, it seems real already.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, if you had to sign a driver's license or something, like whatever. But besides that, everything, 99% of the other time, it's real.
Yeah.
I like it suits you well too. The pirate persona, is like the tough, and you got you even have like Sailor Jerry type, whatever
like
that. I don't know what
American traditional.
Yeah, that type of tattoo. So it fits you very well.
Yeah,
I like that.
Awesome, dude.
Actually, I have a story from when I think I was 3 years old. Very similar to your eye story. I'm not totally blind. This eye has 2200 in it.
Okay,
vision.
So legally blind, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. I think at one point they did a cornea. They thought about doing a cornea transplant and doing surgery. They did do surgery, not the transplant. Put in a lens, like a permanent, semi-permanent lens, and I got to 20/80, which was pretty good.
Okay.
But very similar to you. I've never known what two eyes, like double vision or normal vision or whatever.
Yeah.
I've always been this eye.
Yeah.
I do get like some, because I tell people it looks like underwater. Like if we were underwater and I looked at you, I know you, that's Devin, but I couldn't pick out any details of you. Like I could just, the major parts of your face.
Yeah.
That's how it looks like in this eye. But anyway, the story was my dad and I were building a fire in the fireplace, and we had like this big bundle of twigs or sticks. And like I had like this final push, and one of them came loose and just went right across the cornea. Got a scarred cornea, ripped my iris, the colored part. It's just torn to shreds. And sometimes you might catch it. This light will reflect off the lens. Okay. And it looks like some cat bionic looking thing. Yeah. But yeah, when you said that, when we were messaging back and forth on Facebook, you're like, I'm blind. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. And it's affected me a little bit because I've started training striking and stuff.
That's
and
why
there's
I
a
didn't
part
know.
there. It's like, dude, there's like a fourth of this side where I can't see.
Yeah.
Even like this morning when the wife and I had coffee, we went outside. I put 2 lawn chairs down, and I was getting ready to sit in the left one for whatever reason. I'm like, I won't be able to see her.
Yeah.
She's going to be sitting on this side. Yeah. And I tell people, like, I'm not ignoring you. I just don't see you.
Dude, what about the handshakes? They come, I mean, missed handshakes, people I just left hanging because they'll come to like this side. I'm like,
exactly.
I'm not here, dude. Like, you're going to have to come over here. I had it happen the other night. I had a girl at my gym, and she walked up to give me a handshake. Yeah. She got closer and closer, and I don't think she realized she's on my blind eye. And I look over, and she's standing right here. I'm like, what are you doing that close? Yeah. And she had her hand. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I had no idea you're like reaching in for like a handshake or a hug. Like, all of a sudden you're in my face. I can't tell.
Oh, 100%. And in fact, I now situate myself like at a family event. I try to situate myself in a position to like, because my vision's probably like this, and then this is, maybe I'm looking this way right now, and I can see, but not now, And so I try to position myself to where I'm a step back and can see everybody. So because I don't want to offend anyone, because I don't mean to. Yeah. I even told my mother-in-law one time, I was like, if you sit there, I'm going to ignore you because I can't see you.
Yeah, there's nothing going on over there.
No, there's not. So does
that affect you the same way that I think? I mean, I never got tested, but I think it's affecting my ear.
Your ear?
So I swear I don't hear as good out of this ear.
Yeah. I don't think it's affected my hearing in that sense. I think I do rely on my hearing more, though. Okay. Like, a lot of times I don't look at people. I'm like listening to you. Like,
I got you.
Yeah, because one, I don't have the iris, so I can't control the light. Yeah. So a lot of times I'm like this because it's fucking hurts. Dude. Yeah. It hurts terrible. I get a huge boost of energy at dawn and dusk because that it's bright enough to where I can see, but I'm not like squinting the whole time. So the hearing, I would say like I'm just a better hearer, and you could ask my wife, and she'd be like, "No, he's not." But I think that's
selectively hearing.
Yeah. I think I rely on it a little bit more, and touch. I feel like my other senses compensate for my eye a little bit more.
Interesting.
Yeah. But you think it might be from all your training, maybe?
That could
altering
be.
the sound and stuff?
There honestly might not be anything at all.
Yeah.
I'm just, something I'm thinking's happening, and I feel just like, it might be in my own head that when somebody's over here, I just don't hear them as well. I always, I can't hear that well.
Yeah.
I'll put this ear up, but it's weird. I mean, I don't have that bad a qualifier either, so
Yeah.
it shouldn't affect it that much.
Right.
I always put this ear closer because I feel like, or maybe I'm just reading them better.
Could be.
Because it's this eye.
Yeah.
So that might be what it is, and because I'm blind in one eye, I'm just think that because I can't see him, I can't hear him as well.
Right.
But I'm not 100% sure.
Well, your accident happened quite a bit before even mine, like at a very young age. So I bet you that could have affected the way that your senses were developing.
Yeah.
Because I also had a patch where they tried to get the bad eye to strengthen itself
so
up.
they patch your good one?
Yeah, which was terrible for a 4-year-old dude. I'd like poke a little hole just so I could see. So I'd be like this.
I did the same.
Oh my God, dude. I'm at a 4-year-old dude who is incredibly curious about the whole world, and now I can see underwater. Everything is underwater.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yep.
Oh, it's horrible. I wish I would have been a little more disciplined, because I think it would have helped my eye. Because right now it's when I get tired, it's like it starts to wander a little
You
bit.
too?
Oh,
Okay.
100%, dude.
So after like a hard, not even training, it's fine. But sometimes when I'm teaching in that environment, I don't know if it's because it gets like hot in there or what, but I have old pictures of like basketball tournaments of running in a gymnasium, and it gets stuffy. It just correlates to like being super humid in a room.
Yeah.
I'll go cross-eyed.
Cross-eyed.
So it'll move over here and I won't know it.
Oh, you won't know it?
I can kind of feel it. Though.
Sure.
And I have a little bit of peripheral, and I can kind of tell it wasn't where it was.
Yeah.
And I have a little bit of something over here, nothing really over here, nothing straight on. So there's a little bit of something going on over here, but I couldn't tell you what it was. I can see
Movement.
emotion. There's a motion over here.
Motion, yeah.
But yeah, it'll move, and that's something that has gotten a little bit worse as I've gotten older, and it's something that I kind of wanted. I'm at a point now where I'm like, I don't know if I want to have surgery on the muscle to keep it straight.
Right.
It's not even my eyes. They're not the same color of brown, and when I get tired, this will lighten up, so it looks like I have two colored eyes. This eye doesn't dilate. It's just it's just weird. I don't like it. I don't like the color of it. It's lazy. It just, in pictures, I can tell. I don't know if anybody else can tell, but I can tell, and it just makes me uncomfortable. I can't stand it. I can't stand looking people in the eye for too long. So if I keep looking off, I feel like it's like I don't know. I think they're looking at this eye.
Oh,
So I've never been good at eye contact, and when I'm like staring at somebody too long in the eyes, I start thinking about it. I'm like, they're staring at my eye. They're talking to me. I'm like, they're looking at my eye. I don't know what they're talking about anymore.
Yeah, right.
They're staring right in my eye.
Yeah.
But yeah, I eventually I'm going to do something about it. And I saw that, I don't know why, but I saw like Bisbee get those lenses that you can, like little caps you can put over the top. And I don't know if that's
like colored, like they changes the color.
It makes it look like, because I was like turning gray. It was basically I think his eye was in a sense dying. So his eyes
like going milky
yeah,
on him.
Yeah. So he got a lens like a half of a, it's not like a glass eyeball, but like a prosthetic eye that he could put in there and take out. And I don't know if it moved with him, but maybe it did. But it looks good. Like you wouldn't be able to tell if you didn't know.
Right.
But I think here in the next couple of years, I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what that is, but something.
Honestly, if you never told me, I never would have known.
Yeah.
Never, dude.
Which
I
is
mean,
good.
looking at both eyes right now, totally normal. Like, whatever. I mean, your ears are what I focused on. You know, like, oh, he's been training hard. You know, the eyes is just, to me, and that's what people tell me too. They're like, you have a eye. It's when it reflects the light.
Right
Exactly.
after you said, I saw you looked up. I saw it. Yeah.
They'll catch that and be like, what the hell? But besides that, you know, and there's times, like I said, late at night, I'm watching a movie or something. The TV will start to double up.
Yeah.
It goes from here to here.
Yeah.
And then that's about when I'm like, okay, time for bed, because I can't do this. But yeah, I can't notice. I will say that I hope we're on the verge of some synthetic. You know, have you been keeping up at all with 3D body printing, or 3D? I guess it would be like tissue printing, like printing body parts.
I haven't really kept up on really anything like that, because I mean, I have zero knowledge on this stuff. So to me, when I see something, I don't know if it's legitimate or not. So I don't get too invested.
It's legitimate.
Hope it's legitimate, but you know, with everything that's going on, I wait for somebody I know who is legitimate, that understands it, and then I talk to them.
Yeah,
so
right.
Well,
Well,
I don't really
supposedly we're getting to the point where we can start to 3D print these body parts, and they've done it with a girl's bladder. They might have done it with more, but that was like the first big experiment. It's like they scrape some skin cells off of her wherever, skin. And then they made those into stem cells, and then they made those into a bladder, and then they grew it, and then they put it in her because she had bladder cancer.
And it took.
Because it's her cells. And, it's not like a reject. That's what they were worried about the cornea transplant.
Yep.
Was I was getting, it might be rejected. And then I would go from 2200, which like I can see, kind of, to totally blind, lose the eye. So the risk wasn't good enough, the risk to reward.
Yeah.
We got to 2080 and it's like, well, the best he's going to get is 2020. And so I didn't do it. But we're getting to that point to where maybe they can make you new organs based off your DNA or your stuff. So that would be awesome. And then you and me would be the first in line to get that figured out.
I would love to know what it's like to see out of two eyes.
Same, dude.
I feel like I've done a pretty good job being blind on one eye outside of like, I mean, there's nothing I've had to adjust. I'm not a great shot, but I've had to adjust to shoot left-handed. Baseball, I was really good at baseball, but it got to the point where the pitches were too fast. And my depth perception was too far off, and it just didn't. There's certain things like that I felt like I didn't reach any kind of close to the potential I had in a certain sport or something like that. But I mean, it really hasn't affected my life a whole much, especially now with. I mean, I did try MMA. Good boxers out there. They're going to piece me up. There's no way.
Yeah,
it just didn't seem like a good idea, especially after my last fight, and I had a pretty good injury to this eye. So I was just Jiu Jitsu, man, you can close your eyes as long as I can grab you. I mean, it'd be hard to do blind, but once you're in the mix of it and you can kind of feel your way through it. I don't need to be looking at you.
For sure.
So I think I chose the right thing. I don't know if it narrowed it down for me to do that.
That's what I was about to ask. Do you think that the injury encouraged you to become what you've become? Because I had very similar experience with baseball. Like I played T-ball and all the way up, and then we got to the little bit past the pitching machines, and it was like I just can't do it. You know, it'd be better to. I spent my time doing football, which was you don't have to see, you just have to crush.
Yeah,
you kind of have to.
You
see.
got an area where somebody's going to be. You're just going to run through it. There's a wall there. I'm going to run through it.
Yeah. But watching this little thing, dude.
It was about 7th grade, and we were facing a pretty competitive team. And it was getting past me. I didn't realize he pitched the ball. I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Oh, really?
I'm like,
you just heard the.
I was just like, I thought I was going to time it right, or I'd be way ahead or way behind, or I'd try to get his timing mechanics down. But at that point, they're throwing different speed pitches. They're not just throwing fastballs anymore. And it's like, I think I knew right in that moment. I'm like, I either have to work at this every single day and learn timing better, and like, but it would just be too much. Like, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze at that point.
Of course.
There was other stuff I was doing. I was playing roller hockey at the time too, and
nice.
That's another one that it didn't really involve too much of it. I mean, a little bit peripheral, but I never did any of those things at a high level, so I couldn't tell you at a high level what it would really take.
Right. Yeah.
And there's things like I did try to join the military when I was 18, 2006. I wanted to do that right out of high school because just didn't have any direction at all.
Yeah.
And basically with them, the fire academy, after them and the fire academy were more so like they thought it was more of a liability than a help being blind.
Even the fire academy.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. They were almost said the exact same words about me. Be like, it's almost like I could go through all this training, I could go to school, all this stuff, but there's no guarantee for anybody. But there's really an asterisk besides me because I'm blind in one eye, and they're just like, I don't know if, like, before I even signed up for the school, they're like, I just don't think that it's going to be worth it. I don't know if it's something you should even give it a shot doing because of the liability factor that maybe I misstepped somewhere or in a house fire, I'm upstairs, I misstepped somewhere, I hit something I should have seen, I fall to the floor, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just my range of vision on this side's great. Over here, like I said, I don't know how many people say I left them hanging. I'm like, dude, I don't even know you were there.
Yeah, right. You need a t-shirt.
People know by now. Most people that know me, and then in my gym, I it's kind of a known thing that I'm blind in one eye, and I try to say that as much as possible if somebody's drilling next to me or something like that, and they feel like I'm not looking at them. I'm like, man, there's times I don't even know you're there. So I've gotten better about explaining it to people, but the pirate thing, that since my gym's called Pirata Jiu Jitsu and I have pirate flags everywhere, every new member asks me, what's the deal with the pirate thing? And I'm like, well, blind in one eye. So they all figured it out super fast. Right. So it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's,
Are we going right now? Like, are you recording?
Oh, yeah.
We just got into it. I'm like, fuck it, let's just go.
Yeah. The last I think it was last 3 podcasts, because I used to do an intro. And I mean, I was telling this story to JW. I had a Pitt State professor on. He talks for a living, right?
Yeah.
I love the guy named Dr. Joey Pogue. Super cool. He's been on a couple times. But I noticed as I was doing the intro, like I saw him get nervous. Like I saw him kind of reserve himself, and I was like, whoa, you do that. And like you said, you were nervous. I'm always nervous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same nerves that I get before I go to jiu-jitsu class.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, this is going to suck. And then I get there, I'm like, I'm so glad I went. You know, and that's how I feel about the podcast. So I know people get nervous. And when I saw him get nervous, I was like, man. And so now I've just been trying to like hit record and just flow into it. And then,
I think it's great.
yeah.
I think it's great.
Nobody really pays attention. And
I would do the same thing if you were to say anything about, it's like if I would teach a seminar and somebody pulls me up front and starts talking about me, like, now I want to go hide my face. I don't want to be around anybody now.
Exactly.
Like, this is, I feel like I'm not, in a weird way, not a part of that crew. Like they're putting me above because I'm there for a special. I'm like, I'm not anybody better than anybody here. I just want to be here and teach. Like, let me do my thing. Let me get out of here.
Yeah.
Who cares about what I've done or who I am? It's just, it's a weird, I don't know. And I'm the same. I'm in front of people all the time, but I don't want it to feel any different.
Yeah.
Because it's not to me. So when people start saying something about me, or if I'm a guest somewhere and they start talking about me, it feels weird. It feels super weird.
Yeah, but I will argue, like, your accolades and people on your caliber, like, that's important. It's important to, like, this is what this guy or woman has done. And to me, especially jiu-jitsu, the more that I've done it and participated in it, and I don't know exactly all that you've done. I'm sure we'll get into that. But once you really grasp, it's kind of like, I was talking to my wife the other day. It's like, people just render really crazy things down to a sentence. Like, oh yeah, Monica had her baby last weekend. Like, that is an enormous sentence. It was 9 hours of labor. They had complications or whatever. There nothing spoke about the emotional, bondage with the child and how the father bawled his eyes out. Like, she had her baby last week. And that's how I feel like until you experience something, and then someone tells you, like, this guy won gold in no-gi, black belt, whatever. It's like, Jesus Christ, he did. Yeah. Like, that's phenomenal. So I don't know, when I hear those sorts of accolades, it's kind of like, talk to me. What do you know something?
Yeah.
So I know that it does feel weird because, like, you feel like a normal guy, an average guy, and you are. Yeah. But you've done some extraordinary things. Sure. Which definitely sets you apart.
And I mean, it's weird for me to acknowledge that, but at the same time, I have this weird thing, and I'm not sure where it comes from, but it's no matter what I do in life, it's never going to be enough. Like, it's never like I just don't feel like I'm ever going to reach a satisfactory point. And even with competition, it wasn't really about, the only reason why, like, I chased big medals or big titles was because I felt like if I'm going to open a gym, which was always my goal, and teach people, and then I have people come up to me and like, well, I want to win something big. I was like, well, I want you to believe that you can do it here. And I think the only way you can really truly buy in is if I did it first. Right. Like, if I chased it first, because there's certain things, like, don't get me wrong, man. Like, you look like, I think you can be a great teacher no matter what. I think you can lead people to whatever they want without doing any of that. It was just my own thing. Like, I like to seek out people that have walked the walk for me to truly buy in. Yeah. No, not everybody has to be that way. And so as a byproduct of that, I competed so much, and, for every time I've won, I've lost 10 times more. There's a lot. There's you'll put out there on like a flyer for a seminar the things I've done right, but we're gonna need a lot more papers for the things I've done wrong. A lot more flyers for things I've done wrong. But that's kind of why I chased it so much. Was I didn't want anybody to question that part of it, as far as like, hey, you should, if I tell somebody, hey, you should be doing this competition, you be doing that, like, they're gonna look at me like, well, what have you done? Did you do that? Are you like, why are you yelling at me to do it if you didn't do it? And I'm like, didn't want to be in that spot. So it wasn't even the love for competition, really. I just thoroughly enjoyed jiu-jitsu, but that's all, I think, because of the time I decided to start jiu-jitsu and what was going on in my life. So jiu-jitsu was different for me, but at that point also, shortly after, realized I wanted to teach it, and that's kind of how, all right, I'm going to chase some things. I'm going to compete. Oh, don't get me wrong. I love it, man. I love the feeling of victory. I love the feeling of winning. I actually love I don't love it. I love that I put myself through it, the feeling beforehand. I fucking hate it. Yeah. But I love that I did it afterwards. I fucking do not want to be there. I get tired before matches.
Yeah.
Like my fight or flight is to go to sleep. I just go to sleep on the
Right.
side of the mat. Like I get super tired. I don't want to warm up.
Wow.
I'm so worried about everything. I'm like, I want to puke. I want to leave. I don't want to be there. But you can't show those emotions. You got to walk around and act like you care to be there. You want to walk around like you fucking own the place.
Yeah.
And inside, I'm like, I don't give a shit about this at all. I don't want to be here. I'd rather be doing something else.
I'll take a nap.
Eating good food, things that all this stuff I sacrifice. I'm like, I'd rather be fucking doing that than here. And you go out there, you push yourself to that feeling, win or lose. I mean, more so winning, but after that, you're like, you're glad you did it. So, you know, in hindsight, you're like, when I start feeling that now, I'm like, I'm going to fucking enjoy this here in a couple hours. I'm like, let's do it there. But like right now,
I see.
I'm like, I might not be feeling it now, but here in a second, I'm going to fucking love this.
Oh, so you've come to that level to where you recognize it and you go, hey, old friend, you know, hey, darkness. And I know what comes after you.
Yep.
Wow.
So
I got
like,
goosebumps, dude.
It's just, it's weird. And I hired a mental coach to kind of let me just give me a different perspective on, because I've always had bad confidence issues. And I'm always one of those guys. I'll be the first one to admit it because I don't give a shit. But I've always been one of those guys that's way better in the room than I was competing. I don't think I could ever think of a time I've competed at a full potential. And I'm not trying to use it as an excuse for any time I've lost. But I will, you know, guys are afraid to talk about that. I'm not like who I am in the room is not quite compared. I mean, who I am in competition, not compared to who I am in the room.
Yeah.
I've lost the guys in competition that I could tell you for sure. I beat the shit out of in a jiu-jitsu room when nothing was on the line. But there's some bitch quality in there that I had, and I just wasn't sitting well with me, especially at brown belt when I was really starting to chase something big. Because at brown belt I hadn't won really anything. I mean, I've won every local tournament you can win, but then you know, I start training with more guys that have won bigger things, and it's like, okay, this is cool, but I want that. And then somebody else was something big, and I'm like, well, then I want that too. Like that, if my peers are winning it, then I should. If I'm in the room with them, I need to be chasing that too. So, but that also comes back to me not ever feeling like I'm doing enough. I think I could compete for every day to the end of my life, and every time I win, it's not going to be enough. But I don't know what that is. I'll figure that out eventually. But I think that's with anything in my life. I feel like there's always room to do more. I feel like there's always, anytime I've won and competed, like I just competed 2 weekends ago.
Oh, really?
At against a guy from here, Mike Prinker. You know, he from is it A-Force? Yeah, in Web City. So he was supposed to face a teammate of mine from St. Louis, and it was on JW's Fuji World Pro card in Springfield.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, this was 2 weeks. I don't know, time flies. 2 weeks ago, and that was the last time I competed. And even then, like right after the match, and I did well, but right after the match, there was one moment, and even during the match, this moment that happened just pissed me off, and it didn't throw off the match. I ended up, I can't remember, the score was like 16-0. I wanted to submit him. The score was like 16-0, but he got to this position like I'm a notoriously slow starter, which is great for anybody that listens to this and knows they can compete against me. Just run at me real quick, see what happens. I might fall over, but I've gotten a lot better about it, getting better about my warm-ups and not letting the first time my heart races is not in the match. I want to get it beforehand. I want to make sure that that's not the first time I feel the adrenaline.
Oh, I see.
So I try to, and that's definitely helped out.
It's like revving your engine up real hard before the race.
Yeah, you don't want to do it during the match. That's why, have you competed?
One time, yeah.
So do you remember at all like that feeling after your first match, you can't close your hands, the forearm?
Yeah, I was shaking.
You feel like the amount, like you felt like you just ran a marathon, sprinted a marathon. So
I tried to shake Dave's hand because he was in my corner, and I was like,
you can't even close your hand. Just like putting out a limp hand to him.
Yeah.
But
wasn't even that crazy of a match.
And it's all the emotions going into it, that fight or flight, and then you're going from 0 to 100. So I think it's just like your body's natural thing is to like tense up. I don't know, like you just redlined your body out of nowhere.
For sure.
So I try not to let that be during the first match at tournaments. I want it to be beforehand. But even then, like I swept him, and then he was just, and I watched him like go into single leg X, twist around my knee, and I'm like, he's gonna put me in a knee bar, and I'm like just slowly following it, and then I get my knee line out, but he hips into the side of my knee, and I've torn my LCL before on my right leg, so I started feeling pressure there. For a moment, I winced, and wasn't gonna tap, and I'm like, just don't tear again, like out of this. He's just like squeezing for dear life, like I think he thought he had my knee, and he didn't, so he's squeezing. It was hurting. But it wasn't going to break anything. I was just like, I'm just so worried because I filled the LCL. And then I get up top, and I'm immediately like, how the fuck did that even happen? Like, how did he even get there? So then I turn it on. I end up scoring 16 points after that. Try to submit him, and I wasn't able to do it.
You were down 16?
No, it was 0-0, and I got 2, and then I scored.
Gotcha.
So it was 16-0 at the end of the match. But it started, I swept him. I got 2 for the sweep, and then he put me in that knee bar.
Yeah.
And then I scored 14 more points after because I was pissed.
Just turned your,
I was pissed at him. Like, he took a shot, but I was pissed that I started so slow that I was in that position. I didn't want to be in that position at all.
Right.
I wanted it to be, I don't know. I just didn't want to walk off the mat and think about where I went wrong right away. And I was already thinking about where I went wrong during the match. During the fucking match. I was already like, I remember I was in a position, I'm all like shaking my head at myself. I'm like, how the fuck does that even happen? Like, I'm watching him do it. Like, it's in slow motion. And I'm like, hey, I should do something about this. And he's attacking me. I'm like, hey, I should fucking start defending before this gets worse. And that's happened plenty of times. And I got some guys that train with me that know that. And to help me out, they're good at blitzing at the beginning. My buddy Robbie, we were talking about the other day. He's been training with us since the very beginning. He's a purple belt. It took a lot of time off, but he is a fast starter, and he loves it because he's like, it throws people off. So our first part of the round is, 2 or 3 minutes of me fucking hanging on for dear life until I can catch up. And I finally can slow him down and get to work, but he's like, he knows it. So he tries to help me with it by doing it to me. So at least lets me slow things down so I can process what's going on. And get to where I need to be because eventually in every match, I'll be like, okay, it's time to go. All right, it's time. I'm done fucking around. It's time to go. And if you look at some of my matches, like I have one on my YouTube page of a submission, a loop choke I got against a really good brown belt. It was on a super fight show. And for the first 2 minutes, he's about to pass my guard and he's got me splayed out. And I'm just sitting there, just allowing it to happen. I'm just like defending a little bit. He swept me. I'm just sitting there, and you can hear it, and you hear somebody in the crowd like, start moving, do something. Like, I think it was my stepdad. He's like, come on, go. And I'm like, yeah, I should probably go. So then I end up sweeping him, getting on top, and choking him within like a minute after that. I'm like, all right, it's time to go. It's time, like, I'm in it now. It's clicked. I'm in a match now. But it doesn't take that long anymore. That was a long one. He felt like he was on top of me forever trying to pass my guard. He was just crushing me. And I'm just waiting for it to click. I'm like, I know I'm in a match. I know. I just need to get back to a good position. And when I get a certain grip set or a certain guard, like, it'll be good. It'll work. As long as I'm not too far, not like somebody's on my back or I'm down big points. Like, if I can keep it fairly even and I get back to a certain position, I feel pretty confident at that point. But it's just, the starting part is just terrible for me.
That's so interesting. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm sure everyone has their, hand that they've been dealt, but it's like so interesting because you're so good, and it's weird that okay, I'm in a match and you can see things progressing, and then all of a sudden it's like oh, Devin's here.
It's wild, and I hate it, and I know it's there, and I think me switching my warm-ups, like I guess in this last week's match, I got to a position fairly on. What I tried to do is get to certain positions, which I won't say out loud. Certain positions.
So for JW, the same thing, dude.
Yeah, I'll talk, but I'm not going to tell all my secrets. Right. But there's certain positions I like, and if you watch my videos, you're going to know where it's at. It's close guard. I'll just say it. It's close guard.
I'm beeping that out.
Get the close guard. I mean, a black belt, dude. Nobody's going to let me just go to close. Like, I don't think I've barely been able to close my guard any match at black belt. Guys are so good now. And they're so good at everything that I can say that because I've gotten a lot better at other stuff too. Like, it is a place I love being in, especially in the gi because of the controls I have, and it's pretty much all offense. It's the only place on bottom, I think, in jiu-jitsu where it's all offense for me. Compared to those like white buffalo chokes where somebody can Ezekiel you in your close guard, which you shouldn't allow happen, but I've seen good guys get choked to sleep with it. So there's those one-offs. But 99.9%, you can't submit me there. And we're not in a fight. Like, if it's a fight, it's a terrible spot. You're going to beat the shit out of me. But jiu-jitsu, it's not a fight to me. It's a game. It's more of a game. So I've never looked at jiu-jitsu as a fight, so I'm okay with being on bottom. And closed guard it's been my money since blue belt. And I think going into purple belt, and are you purple belt now or blue belt?
Blue belt.
Blue belt. There's this thing, and I don't know if you'll go through it, but some of my purple belts have went through it. I went through it. That when you get to purple belt, it's like, oh shit. Like blue belt was an awesome belt to get because you're like, oh, okay, maybe I can do this. Oh, right. Which sucks that a lot of people quit at that belt because I know how much it takes to get a legitimate blue belt from somebody and the work you got to put in. But for me, I was like, oh, he thinks I can do it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to fucking go hard.
That's awesome.
But by the time I got the purple belt, I'm like, well, I'm just doing fucking close guard and half guard, and these guys are barrel balling each other and fucking doing all this inverted stuff. And I was like, I got to do that too. So I try to get good at everything else but what I was already good at and sharpening that. So in purple belt, beginning of purple belt, I did great. By the end of purple belt, I was in a hard slump and I could just not figure it out, which kind of leads into the mental coach. But at brown belt, after kind of talking to the mental coach, I went back to everything I was doing at blue belt, but it was much more sharp at that point. And I just
more foundational moves.
I had a better understanding than I did at blue belt. At these like closed guard and half guards, other thing I did, and I quit doing all the. I try to incorporate the fancy shit now, and fancy shit can be whatever it is to whoever. But like to me, it was like the
twisters,
stuff like that, like stuff that's not like foundational in jiu-jitsu. The lapel guards and the bolos and things like that, and then these awesome ways to get in the footlocks now, which I love. And I've been doing footlocks since I was a white belt. I jumped into I used to jump into advanced nogi divisions just so I could footlock as a white and a blue belt because they wouldn't let you. But back then, every division was an advanced division. Back in 07, there wasn't that many grapplers. So
It's grown. The sport's grown that much since 07.
Oh yeah. Wow. Oh dude. So when I started in Kansas City, I took my very first class in May of 2006, and the class was in a dude's basement who was a blue belt, and I ended up finding out back then, this was pre-Facebook, you had to know somebody that knew somebody.
Yeah,
like jiu-jitsu is still. I mean, it's grown a lot in Kansas City, but you compare it to other big cities.
Oh, for sure.
It's still behind. It's as far as like the jiu-jitsu there and how much there is.
Even with the pirate gym.
Like, I'm trying to give me some time. But I mean, that's what I'm trying to do my part now to make it, to expand it and give back to the community. And that's why I opened it because where I opened it, are you very familiar with the Kansas City area?
Kind of, yeah.
So my gym and where I was raised the second half of my childhood was in a city called Independence.
Okay.
So it's right outside of Kansas City. It's like Joplin, there's Neosho, there's Seneca, things like that. There's these little towns, Diamond, Webb City. It's like a Webb City to a Kansas City, something like that. Yeah. So I grew up there. It's not like as nowadays, if you were to look it up, you would hear all the bad things about it and how the city's kind of moved, about the worst parts of the city has kind of moved in. And, to me, when I was talking about opening up my spot, a lot of what I would hear is like, you should go here. This is where the money's at. You should go here. This is where you can build a monster
franchise.
Over here. And I was like, but they ain't going to do my old neighborhood any good where the kids need it. All I could think about was, when I found it, I was lucky to find it then because the path I was on was for sure like right after I got into jiu-jitsu, I OD'd and went to a coma. So I was like on the edge of, I'm out. I'm on my way out if I don't find something that clicks for me that can change things around for me, which we can get to that in a second if you want to. But
100%.
The reason why I chose Independence was, the first thing I realized was if I'm going to open a gym, I'm not doing it to be a millionaire. There's no way. I'm not doing it to, do I need to make money? Yeah, man, I need to make money. I need to survive. I need to feed my family, but I'm not there to
dominate,
No, man. People want to, people are so worried about how many students they have. You have about 100 students. I'm like, who fucking cares, man? All I care about is quality. I care about the quality of jiu-jitsu. I care about helping my community and giving people an opportunity that might not have that opportunity at those gyms that are in bigger cities.
They're charging $150, $200 a month.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, it's wild, and I'm not going to do it. And maybe I don't do contracts. I'm not going to bind anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, COVID has showed you anything. Shit can happen, and it can throw things off. And I'm not, and that's gonna, that could hurt me in the long run. But I'm not going to bind anybody to my gym. And I also don't do that because my gym's not for everyone. Even though I am in my community, I'm not going to cookie cut or anything, man. It's not going to be my intensity to which I train with you guys, and it's how I do my own spot, which in turn, I'm probably not going to have 100, hundreds, 200, 300 students because of that, but I want to be around like-minded people. I want to look for the kids that were like me that need a spot like that, and that'll serve them well. They need something like that. Yeah. So no contracts for me, man. I want you, and I give big trials out because I'm like, I want you to want to be here.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to.
Well, how many times? Sorry, how many times has someone walked into a gym and had a terrible experience because there was a bully there or someone didn't you know nothing? Well, I'm gonna try my new move on you, and they have a terrible experience and they never train again.
Yeah,
And so for someone to walk into your gym where it's like, I want you to be here.
Yeah,
I have you. I'm gonna teach you. I'm gonna show you how cool this can be, and then hopefully you keep coming back. That's that quality aspect that you were talking about.
And And that's something like with somebody that's brand new, and that's something I've noticed. And back when I first started, there was really no quality control. We were all just fist fighting each other. The jiu-jitsu was not that good, so we were getting hurt all the time, and it was a Wild West, and we all did it to fight MMA because there's no jiu-jitsu around. There's no black belts in town when I started.
Right.
Now there's a black belt in every corner, but when I started jiu-jitsu in Kansas City, I found the guy that the very first class I did was in a guy's basement. He was a Pedro Sala affiliate. He was a blue belt at the time. I happened to be at Barnes & Noble because I knew I wanted to get into fighting.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I boxed a little bit before that. I had wrestled in high school a little bit, and I was like, and at that point in life, I was like, I need something, man. I'm getting in fights. I've been arrested. I've been locked up in high school and right after 7 different times. I did some time somewhere.
Wow.
Growing up. So, and like I said, I had OD'd once in high school, and then I started doing jiu-jitsu, and it kind of caught up to me again, and right before my first fight. So I even took my first fight. I OD'd again. This time, I damn near did the job.
Wow. I
woke up in recovery, and I believe it was 3 or 4 days afterwards. But I woke up, and obviously you can't just wake up out of that doing something like that, and they're like, all right, you're free to go. So you got to stay in recovery for a while. And you got to go through this whole process to see if you're fit to even go back out. And at this point, my mom was pretty fed up. I put her through some shit, man. She was pretty fed up. I basically didn't, she wasn't going to give me a place to stay if I didn't start figuring things out. So sure. I called a fight promoter out of Whiskey Tango, which is a bar in outside of Kansas City, and I took my first fight while I was still in the hospital. So I was like, well, if I don't train for it, I'm gonna get the shit beat out of me in front of my whole family.
So you're setting up some stakes.
I needed something to look forward to when I got out, or else I was gonna do it. And
with
it wasn't
some consequences.
It wasn't even the drugs or anything. I wasn't really a drug head. The ODs were on purpose. So
really,
yeah. So and they were both. The first one, I think I was just like a call for help. The second one, I was ready to go.
How old were you?
I was 18. Wow. First time was 17, second time was 18. They were shortly after one another. First time and this all stems from, and we can also go back into like my childhood here in town because I'm from this area. Okay. But there's a lot of shit that happened that led me to that point I just didn't feel like it was worth it to keep fighting through all the fucking demons anymore. So decided to give it a shot the second time and damn near did it. And then I woke up, was in recovery. And that was a wild experience because I've never been in any kind of coma before. But
were you happy to wake up? I mean, were you like,
I didn't know what the fuck was going on, man.
Yeah.
I was still in it days. Like even when I woke up, like I was like, because I took a couple different things, but I know I took a lot of Xanax. And I don't know what they were doing, like if they had anything running through me while I was sleeping or while I was in that little bit of a coma stage. But it took me a couple of days to even realize what the hell was going on.
Just come back online.
They'd like wake me up. And I'd be in this room, and they'd be like, how do you feel today? I'm like, I don't know who the fuck you are. Like, I don't even know where I am.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, then they walk me back to my room. I lay in this bed, and I go back to sleep. And eventually, it started coming back to me. I'm like, I'm not at my house. Like, this obviously isn't a jail. Yeah. And I start like, okay. Yeah. I'm figuring it out now. Each time they wake me up, I'm like, okay, I'm not dead. I made it out because now I'm realizing why I'm here.
Kind of remembering.
Yeah, like, okay, this is my fault, first off. But obviously, it didn't work. Like, I'm awake. This is... And I didn't know how to feel about it. I didn't talk to my mom right away, and I don't think she wanted to talk to me. She knew I was okay. They knew that. She knew I was going to make it through it. So at that point, she's like, well, you fucking deal with this how you deal with it now. When you're out, we'll figure it out. But, I imagine
get you better.
I imagine me being that close to death was not good on my mom. So she was not very happy about it. But, yeah, I took that fight while I was in the hospital. I was saying something about the blue belt. I'd found his
Barnes and Books and
there was an old magazine called I think it was called Ultimate Grappling at the time, and then switched to Ultimate MMA, and it just had this page of Pedro Sari affiliates, and I'm like, I'll drive somewhere to learn jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Come to find out, the guy lived a couple miles from me. Nice. And he was on his address was his house address, so I called the guy, and we set up an appointment, and I go down there, and it's a pretty cool experience, and I'm like, okay, I definitely want to pursue this. He ended up venturing out and trying to find a martial arts gym to where we could also use the mats there as well, which eventually led me to Dragon Family, where I started my first real legitimate jiu-jitsu training. That's where we met clean and things like that down the line. But
that's all in Kansas City?
This was Independence.
Oh, so Independence, yeah.
The Dragon Family ended up being a mile from my house. So it was all in this little...
That's wild.
It all worked out. It couldn't be better timing. But that's how jiu-jitsu was in 2006 in Kansas City. And I think at that time, Ethan Day may have been there. and he was a brown belt at the time. But those guys, like the original founding club in Kansas City is KCBJJ.
Okay.
Which I'm sure you've heard
You
of.
were a part of that at one point?
We were all like, anybody that came up in those days had some sort of, like, I never was a member there, but I did represent them in tournaments because like they were the mothership of jiu-jitsu there.
Yeah.
So if you had any real legitimate jiu-jitsu knowledge, at a certain point you walked in those doors because that was the longest standing gym. They had some of my best friends I still have to this day. I met them there.
Oh, wow. Don't a lot of UFC fighters go there to train?
Yeah, well,
pass through or
outside now that Glory's so big, and James Krause has done such a good thing with Glory because that's up in Kansas City as well, and there's multiple gyms like that now. And you know, he's got, I don't know, one of my friends was telling me that he's got like, I think in-house 18 guys in the UFC right now or some crazy number. So that's where they go now.
That sounds awesome.
Like I think he just had Brandon Moreno there, who was a UFC champion. Like he's got guys that go there, which is awesome, man.
Yeah.
I love to see that stuff. Krause and I had a little bit of a friendship back when we were both amateur fighters. You know, at a point to where he would come pick me up from my house to take me to the gym. Like that's shit that people would never know about because me and him have no connection at all anymore.
Yeah.
He did MMA, I did jiu-jitsu. Things split, and it's all great. But to see where it's at now compared to then is insane. And I'm just trying to do my part to continue that progression.
Yeah,
like to leave my own little mark the way that they left theirs, and how, you know, like you said, you would think we've all were a part of KCBJ because anybody that was legitimate at some certain point of time from then till now has spent some sort of time there.
Yeah, for sure.
Like Jason and Ethan had them in their doors. So, and Jason did a great job of, one thing Jason did well was he just let anybody come home. He was cool. He was cool with it. Like, you know, when I got to purple belt level, I used to pay him drop-ins, and he was like, you help my students just as much as you get help. Just pop in whenever you want. Like those kind of deals. And I didn't have to be a member there. So that was, back then, dude, that was the, you know, early 2010, just 2010 to 2013, 2014. That was some of the best times in Kansas City Jiu-Jitsu history, I think.
That's awesome.
Because we were all cool with each other.
Yeah, right.
And it was before all the bullshit and before, like, 'cause things, you know, things happen.
Or like tribalism type stuff?
Well, it's just, I mean, I'm not going to get all the way into it, but I mean, fucking, I don't know, man. I've seen, you know, I lived in South Florida for a bit of time, and that's where I realized, like, man, there's a high level black belt on every corner down there. It's like little Brazil, dude. It's, but they all thrive in their own way.
Sure.
Which I think is awesome. And when I opened my gym, I was like, it's not a territory for me. I'm here for my own reason. And if somebody opens up next door that's legitimate jiu-jitsu, cool, bro. I got a training partner there. And if we both thrive, I don't give a shit. Open up next door. It doesn't matter. Yeah. We're all serving a good purpose here.
Right.
And we all want good things to come out of this. And we really want to affect our community.
Yeah.
Put one on every corner. I don't give a shit. I'm not here to compete business size with you guys. I'm very confident in what I offer and what I do and how I do it. And I know it in my heart to be true what I'm trying to do in my own town. So I don't give a fuck who opens up next to me. I'm going to do my thing no matter what. Yeah. But being down there made me realize that that's a thing that can happen. There's a lot more people down there, but dude, there was a world champion black belt Brazilian dude on every corner down there, which was wild. And we all had hundreds of students. So it was awesome. It was definitely, it was one of the best times I've ever had. I think I made my most actual growth in technique and mentality those months. I spent months at a time living down there, different parts of 2011, 2012. And I got to train with some of the best guys in the world, man. Some of the absolute best guys in the world before they were even known as the best guys in the world as they were coming up. So it's definitely awesome to see. But in Kansas City's not getting there. We're not quite, I don't think we're near there just yet, but we have grown quite a bit.
Sure, yeah.
And I think it's due to the fact that we were able to have like a really good tight bond in the early days before, I don't know, man.
Like
maybe,
politics.
Maybe it's a status thing. Maybe, you know, you start realizing you're the big dog in town and you want to start taking advantage of those things. And we all had I don't know, man. Some relationships failed. Yeah. Things happen. I'm not going to get into it. It's not for me to say.
It's like typical rock star, you know, like before the band gets big, everybody's cool, everybody's happy, and all of a sudden a huge amount of money and fame and all this comes in, and what happens? They always break up. You start it's a lot of pressure.
Things, I mean, you start getting some, I don't know, clout, whatever you want to call it, but you start getting this, you know, people are coming to you for this service, and you're like, oh, everybody's coming to me for this, or you know, and that could be for anything. It's, you know, for any one of us up there, and it's just, I don't know, man. Some relationships got, you know, for the most part, that old crew that all trained together, we're all pretty tight friends. Some of them had some pretty big falling outs, but life goes on. They've all, even after that, we've all succeeded in our own ways, and we're all still doing the same thing. And when we see each other out in public, it's no big deal, man.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it was the best thing that could have happened in hindsight. You know, now we're all, I had buddies have fallouts, really good jiu-jitsu guys have fallouts. And at that point, one of the guys was like down in the dumps and depressed, and that fallout put a fire under his ass. And now he's one of the best competitors out of Kansas City. Wow. And at the time, I thought he was quitting. I thought he was done. I thought he was lost in life. So that shit changed him. Yeah. And it sucks that the relationships that fell through. It's, I wish that would have never changed, because I really felt like we had something fucking awesome back then. And it was just so cool to see how so many different affiliations could come together with no bullshit. Yeah. And but it's like, I think that's more of an American thing, to be honest with you. With the Brazilians, they're a little bit more territorial, a little bit more like. You need to be wearing their patch if you're going to be out their gym. You know what I'm saying? Things like that.
100%.
And most big American gyms I've been to, they're like, just fucking come train. Let's get after it. You like it. Cool. You don't. There's other gyms.
Yeah.
And they've always been a little bit more open and less tribal, I guess.
Yeah. Rigorous as far as, It's more, I feel like it's more about focusing on the art, Yeah. So it's like, we're here to train. And I mean, I say this and I kind of, I didn't grill JW, but I asked him about like, how come I got to wear white or blue gis at these gyms? I just bought a brand new gunmetal gi. Yeah. And he got me pretty good. He's like, if we just set that standard at first, that we set the standard for everything. I'm paraphrasing immensely, but in the opposite direction, like you and I are talking about, it's just like, wear whatever you want. Come on in. We're here to train. So I guess the mentality could go either way pretty easily.
I'm sure they both have their perks. I'm on the opposite side of that. I just care that you're there. Exactly. I'm not, not everybody can afford to buy multiple white gis, blue gis. I have gis in the back. I have loaner gis that are freaking red, tie-dye. And I'm like, dude, as long as you can put one on, I don't care, bro.
Right. The grips are the same.
I mean, the fucking technique's not going to change because you have a badass blue gi on. Right. So does everybody else in the room, which is cool. I'm not going to talk shit about that. They have their own reasons and purposes for that. And if that serves them well, then cool, man. Yeah. That's awesome. And I'm sure they'll say the same thing about me. I'm not going to do what he does, but if it serves them well, cool. And we can all be cool about it.
And that's exactly what he said. He's like, if you don't like it, there's other gyms and there's no problem.
There you go.
But this is how we do it. It's like, that's I get that loud and clear.
And he's going to get people in there that want to be more formal and enjoy being in that kind of environment. And then there's going to be people that are like, man, I can't wear this. Like, you're going to tell me what I'm paying you. You're going to tell me what I can and can't wear. And you got to draw a line somewhere.
Yeah, 100%.
But some dude can't come in wearing a fucking Speedo. He's going to get kicked out. But there's got to be a line drawn somewhere.
We don't recommend it.
Can't just wear whatever you want.
But I'm going to start a gym where we only wear Speedos.
And you are going to have 3 people.
Perfect. I want quality over
the best
quantity.
3 Speedo jiu-jitsu guys in the world.
And they're going to be made out of gi material.
Dude, I don't know. Maybe down in Brazil that might happen, because anytime I've went swimming with anybody that's lived in Brazil, they're all Speedo dudes,
really?
Man. All the old school Brazilians. We go out to the beach. I'm wearing shorts, Speedos, left and right.
No way.
I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you make a killing doing that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Wait, we can train in these?
I mean, you see the old guys. I mean, basically the old Vale Tudo shorts were Speedos. So, dude, you bring that shit back, you're good to go.
Yeah.
You're great to go.
The Greeks, when they were wrestling or whatever, they were bum-ass naked, dude.
There you go. So bring that shit back.
It's always been here. Never you spent some time down in Brazil training or just?
I've never been to Brazil, and there was a certain point that I felt pretty tore up about that. But I wanted to go to Brazil before I got my black belt. And my coach at the time, which Dustin, we were planning on going down there. And when I moved to Florida, it was because of him. He's from Fort Lauderdale, from South Florida. Okay. And I think when I moved, the idea was at the beginning of 2011, I'm either going to go to Brazil for a couple months or what ended up changing it was he was going to have a kid in April of 2011, so I don't think he wanted to leave because I was going to go with him. He was going to have I probably could have made do down there. I don't know any Portuguese. I might be able to look and fit the part, but I would definitely have to know somebody that knows somebody. So I was more comfortable going there with somebody that I already knew. I just I didn't want to get led astray down there. So I ended up moving down there with Clean while he was about to have a kid, and I trained at Pablo Popovich's and Cyborg, and all those guys had their pro training there, and that was right after Buchecha. This before Buchecha was anybody. He was there, but I was never there at the same time as him. And there's some guys that were in that room that are high-level black belts now, and they were like blues and purple belts, and you could see that they had it.
Yeah.
You could just feel that they had it.
Yeah.
And I tried to be on that level where I'm like, if I want to be like that, I got to be with these guys. I got to be in this room.
Right.
And I think I held that standard pretty well, but those guys did some phenomenal things, and they fucking killed it. So it was cool to be in a room like that before you knew who they were, and now they're fucking. That was before. I don't think Buchecha maybe had one black belt world title, and now he has 13. So
oh jeez,
yeah. So that was before Buchecha was Buchecha.
Wow.
He was there for a very short period of time, and I think he moved back to Brazil. But he was in South Florida at the Armory for a while, and I know he did cross train at those pro trainings with Pablo and Cyborg for a while.
Yeah. And
I never got a chance to train with him, but I don't know if we were in the same room, maybe once.
Sure.
But I think he might have already decided to take off by the time I really rooted down there. So
yeah.
But there's other guys, not Buchecha's level. Like this is pre-Cyborg's absolute ADCC championship before he became, he was always legitimate, but that's what really put Cyborg on the map was that ADCC absolute title in which he beat Buchecha for.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
So it's weird how the world works. But there was guys like that before they were who they are now, and it was just super awesome to see.
That's super cool. That's kind of reminds me of how I met you. Was when you were hanging out with Patrick, and you came down, and he was like, my buddy Devin's going to be there, and I didn't know who you were. I didn't know what you looked like, nothing. And then I think it was at an open mat, and we rolled, and you were a no-gi, so I didn't see belts or nothing. And I was no-gi, and we rolled. I had a great roll. I felt like I did really good, but I think it's because you toned it down so much. But you like matched me, and didn't just pound me. We had this good roll, and we go about our way, and then Patrick's like, "That's him," and I'm like, "What? That's the guy? I just rolled with him." And he's like, "Yeah, that's him." I'm like, "Oh, fuck." And you were like very complimentary of me and everything, and I've done that twice to where it's like someone telling me like, "Did you just swim in that pool?" Like, yeah. They're like, "There's a great white in there." Like, huh?
You have no idea.
No, dude.
Yeah.
There was a guy from Brazil. He's from he lives in Northwest Arkansas. Guilherme. Oh, I shouldn't even have tried his name. It's a Brazilian name, Portuguese name or whatever. Super nice guy. I was actually filming TJ Brinton training at this at the Honey Badger gym, and I saw some guys rolling. So I was like, "Hey, do you care if I get a roll in? Roll with this guy?" Really good. Once again, really good roll. He probably tapped me out. I can't remember. And he's like, "You're really strong. That was a good roll." Come to find out, his like coach or whatever is like, "You know who that is?" Like, no, like that's the #1 ranked whatever belt in the world. And I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Like, Google him, of course. I'm like, dear God, that's why didn't someone let me know? How
cool is that though? Like, and that's, sometimes you always get that experience. Sometimes you're going to train with guys that are that level and they're just going to beat the shit out of you. And that's happened plenty to me, man. That's happened. That's more so happened to me when I was coming up more than it was a guy willing to take his time and work with you. Yeah. Which I think made me that way to where it's like, if I don't know you, I'll match your intensity, but I'm not going to, unless you do something stupid. Yeah. I'm not going to try to beat the shit out. I don't have any point to prove. So I'd rather you have a good experience than me just fucking mollywop you. But
mollywop you. I love that. I need that on a t-shirt.
There's a, I've been saying that for years. I love that shit.
That's great.
But speaking of Northwest Arkansas, these last couple of years, they've had some of like the best guys in the world there.
That's what I mean.
It's insane.
It's a good spot.
That's so, I mean, it's so awesome to see too. And that's right. That's not too far from here. And even Joplin, man. Like, speaking of Pat, how I met Pat was one of my cousins went to school with him, and I think I met him in 2007. I was either still fighting at the time or right after I got done because I quit fighting. I started fighting, only fought for like a year, had 3 fights, but I knew Pat had fought a lot. And I tried to find his gym, and we just could never connect. And I met him at a house party. We were at a house party. That's awesome. And we ended up running each other, and we've been trying to connect this whole time. And I think after that day, I met him shortly after that. And that's the first guy I met down here. Dave, I forgot how I got a hold of Dave, but Dave was a blue belt at the time. I saw somebody post something with Dave and 3 other guys.
Yeah, from Victory, right?
This was way, way before. This is 2010. 2011. Yeah. I saw somebody post the first 4 blue belts from Joplin, and I had no clue there was jiu-jitsu here. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. I was like, first off, I'm the first blue belt from Joplin, but I wasn't living here. Right. And second, I was like, there's jiu-jitsu here, because that's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in the picture with him. Yeah. There's a BTT guy I can't remember his name. Dave would know if you ask him. Yeah. He was under a BTT guy, and then a guy that was a black belt under Hoyler years ago. That was like a missionary. He ended up leaving before he went under JW. But yeah, I saw that. But I met Pat first. I saw that. found them. I found their gym. It was in back of like a karate gym in Webb City. And I went there and trained. Dave wasn't there. I can't remember the very first time I met Dave. But shortly after that, they went to... Did they go to Victory first, or did they go to that Krav Maga gym first?
I think they went to Victory first,
Victory,
and then
okay.
Krav Maga. Yeah.
So Victory is where I really started making a relationship with Dave.
Okay,
and that's where we started getting pretty close.
He's still blue belt at this point.
He was a blue belt going into purple belt. I think he was always like a little bit ahead of me on the belts as far as getting them. But we met as... Oh, maybe we didn't meet as blue belts. Maybe it was purple. Early on, I was a purple belt and brown belt forever. So those timelines, that could be not that long ago or really long ago, because I've been at each belt for a very long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I met him, and I was happy to have that relationship because I have family here, and I used to come down all the time to see family, and it was just so awesome to be able to train in my hometown with a legitimate, because the very first, when I was training with Pat, and I think Pat was searching for the same thing, but Pat was the most legitimate guy outside of finding legitimate jiu-jitsu, and that's because he was tough and he fought MMA. So when we trained, we would get some good tough goes, and we trained at his old gym. I don't think it was too far from here where I met him. I can't remember what it was called, but it had no heat, and it was in December, and I think it was single digits outside, and the mats were frozen, and he had this little gas heater that was shooting flames out of it, and that's all like a little torch flying at us that we could barely feel. That, and there's three of us, me, him, and my buddy Jared, who's now a brown belt under me. The ones that weren't going was sitting to get our hands warm and our feet warm because they were going numb.
Right.
And
Good
whatever.
Lord.
I can't remember what that gym was called. Pat would know.
It sounds like hell.
It was, but man, like I've been trying to build relationships down here. So I'm like, I don't give a fuck what it is. Let's go train in the grass. Yeah. We're going to train today. We're going to see I'm going to see what you're about. And I would like to build a relationship here. Wow. So I want to train while I'm here. So we did it. And me and Pat are great friends. We still talk probably once a week.
Nice.
Over some sort of messenger or something. And I don't know if he wants me to tell anybody this.
He's coming back.
He's coming back. Okay, cool. Yeah. Perfect. People know.
Yeah.
And I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped to have him back. I love training with him. He's such a good dude, good energy.
Yeah, super good.
Known him for a long time. And he's a great friend. So it's awesome to know that he's going to be back down here.
I made a big mistake asking him to try some combat jiu-jitsu once. I was like,
you want to do it with him?
I did it with him, dude. Okay. I was like, hey, I saw this combat jiu-jitsu, and I know you kind of fought. Like, maybe we'll try it out. He goes, okay. I should have known, dude, because it was horrible. He's just like, pop.
Dude, for him, like, he's a guy that didn't really have, I don't think he had, like, super good trainers here. And he just figured it out. And he lost a whole bunch of, he was really big at one point. And I was 265 at my height.
You mean like heavy?
Heavy, like heavy. And he lost a lot of weight. He fought at 170, but that was all self-motivation, trying to get out there. I don't think anybody was really pushing him. Like, he was probably the best guy in his gym at the time, before he met Dave and all those guys, and when he was really fighting MMA, and he was out there winning big fights and really showing up in the moment, which was awesome to see, because I mean, you could easily make the excuse that you don't have the partners or the training or the gym or the equipment or all of that. And he's like, fuck all that. We're going to figure it out.
I'll learn it.
Yeah.
I'll learn the
He
techniques.
did. And he did that with jiu-jitsu too. When he finally got into a good jiu-jitsu gym, he started getting way better at jiu-jitsu, and just a good dude, man. Great dude. Yeah.
Happy to have him back. I always enjoyed training with him. There were times on open mats where he'd kind of coach me, like take me under his wing. I remember one time he said, we're going to pick a move today, and that's all we're going to do. And if you can submit them any other way, don't.
Yeah.
And it was a Darce choke. And I still think about that day, dude. I still think about how many times I threw a Darce from every position, because that's all I had that day. And it really changed how I thought about jiu-jitsu. Just that one time. And that was from Garcia. Yeah. And it was cool.
Dude's I don't know how I'm going to have to talk to him about it, but that's shit like that's ahead of his time. Like, that's how you get good at shit. That's how you, like, if you just show up to train with no real intentions, like, you'll get better. Yeah. But you're not going to get that much better, because you're just really, you have no real aim. You're not really sharpening any kind of tools. You're just there. Maybe they're just there for the workout. You got your workout done, cool. But if you're actually trying to get legitimately good at techniques, submissions, or anything in jiu-jitsu, you have to be specific. You got to do specific training. You have to hunt that thing, whether it's any specific training or full live training. When I train live, every single time I train live, I try to have an idea of a technique, submission, position I want to be on, and everybody in the room.
What do you mean train live?
Like, so I have two different ways I train. One we call them like specific training, where it's like, I'm going to start in an arm bar. You're going to try to get out.
Positional.
Yeah, positional sparring, kind of stuff like that, where it's like 2 minute goes top to bottom. You get a chance to defend and attack, things like that. When I talk about live, it's like full goes. Like, we're starting from the feet. We can keep submitting each other. There's no real position. We're searching for. It's just a full live go, which almost every gym does that.
Right.
But during those goes, I still try to be specific with what I'm hitting.
Okay.
I don't tell them what I'm doing.
Sure.
Maybe they'll catch on, maybe they won't. But it's my way of trying to sharpening a technique or an idea on a live body, drilling live, basically.
Right.
And really sharpen that up. And I felt like at black belt is when I really started doing that with certain things. And I feel like I've probably had my biggest spurts of growth at black belt than any other belt because of things like that.
Yeah.
I'm more intentional with my training. I don't want to. I've had too many big injuries and I feel like I've wasted too much time. So I want to. When I'm there and I'm training, I want it to mean something. I want to get something out of it. Yeah. Whether it's, I've got some sort of data at the end of it. How many times were I able to do it? How many times did it fail? Why did it fail? Instead of oh, I felt good after training. Some things worked, some things didn't. Who gives a shit? Do it again tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
So being more specific about it, whether you're training specifics with somebody or you have a specific strategy in mind that you're trying to get better at.
Yeah. In
a live go, you just do it all the time.
Yeah. And intentional training. That's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like applied pressure on a certain point. It's almost like if I do curls, well, these muscles are going to get bigger. If I just go get a crazy workout, I will definitely be in shape, but nothing's going to stand out.
Which that is a perfect way to put it, because how many times have you either went to a gym or you went with a buddy or you've seen guys that are just randomly doing shit. They have no idea. They don't have any set list of things they want to do.
Exactly.
They either keep doing it with no real results. Maybe they get in a little bit better shape.
Yeah.
Or they don't ever come back because they're like, what the fuck do I do?
I noticed that they I just lost that thought. they do what they always do what they feel like doing. Rather if you had a list and you're like, fuck, I gotta do squat. Because I put it down. Yeah. So they'll just be like, well, I feel like doing shoulder raises because that's what feels good. Rather if it's intentional, like we're talking about, it forces you to do things that you don't want to do but are gonna make you better. Yeah. You gotta have a game plan. If you're gonna get better at anything, you gotta have things kind of planned out. You gotta have a strategy, whether it's lifting weights or not. That's why you see the guys that are the biggest guys, best guys in the world at lifting or powerlifting. They have everything mapped out to a T. Right. The work that they're gonna do, whether they want to. Nobody wants to fucking squat. Nobody. I mean, but if you want to get big legs, you're gonna have to do it. 100%.
Now, if you're just gonna go in the gym to do whatever, you're really like, okay, I did shoulder raises today. I'm gonna do something else tomorrow, and then like, okay, when's the next time you're gonna fucking do the shoulder raises?
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're not gonna do them for the rest of the week or 2 weeks from now, then that shit didn't matter. You're just doing shit to do shit at that point.
Nice warm up.
It's kind of the same thing for jiu-jitsu. If you're just not real intentional with your movements, you will slowly get better. But if you were able to attack a certain position that was speaking to you or something you want to get better at, even more so something you want to get better at, because at that point you're willing to let it fail to get better at it. Yes. You're not going to be like, you're able to understand right away, because it failed, how to fix it, because you were intentional about training it and you knew you wanted to train it. And the idea of getting better at it is it's going to fail sometimes. Right. So you failing in that moment is not a big deal. It's actually better because you make it better because you failed.
You get some data back.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it did not work because, great, I will not do that. I will try not to do that again, and continue to do that, as well as other bodies, big bodies, small bodies, fast bodies, slow bodies. And some of them, whatever, say it's arm bar or whatever, it's going to work better. And some of them is almost going to be damn near impossible.
You're going to have to change some things.
You have to change some things.
You're going to have to, if it works at all in certain bodies, there's the way it works on a little guy is not how it's going to work on a big guy. The controlling points are going to be a little bit different. The way you tilt them, the angles you tilt them are going to be a little bit different. I get some guy that's 5'4", the way I sweep him is not going to be the way I sweep somebody that's 6'5". You know what I'm saying? There's going to have to be a change in the angle, a change 100%. Of the grip, or understanding how much farther they can post compared to a shorter arm. Yeah, right. But the only way you really think you notice things like that is if you're intentional with what you're trying to do. Yeah. And maybe you'll notice it without being like that, but I don't think it'll be you won't be as aware of what's happening to the technique or why it's working or why it's not, unless you're really trying to make it work and understand why it works, I think.
Yeah, 100%. So how do you be intentional with jiu-jitsu? Like, are you picking a move, like kind of like, Patrick did with me, like you're just only going to do a darce, or you do that? Yep. Okay.
It could be a move. It could be a sweep. It could be, if I'm getting ready for,
it could be a position.
It could be certain positions. I'm going to, like a tournament, I'm going to focus. If I'm going for a tournament, like I'm going to focus on positioning and the scores. I'm going to score I'm going to look to get to places I call like home bases, where I really get my best scores from. Like where I feel like I'm at a higher level at. And on the times that I'm getting ready to compete, I'm going to focus on my home bases in my A game more than not, because that's where I need to sharpen up if I'm going to be high level guys. I need to be where I think I need to be where I'm at my best. So I'll focus on that. And then when I'm not preparing for something, I'll have like things that I'm trying to sharpen up that I'm not that good at. Like, I'm not that very good at open guard. So when I'm playing around, all I do is I don't do any close guard, because that's where I feel like I'm the best in my own, not the best, but in my game, that's my best part of my game.
Feel most confident.
Is close guard. So when I'm not doing that, I'll do a lot of lasso and butterfly and things like that. Things that are not I'm very comfortable with, but it doesn't matter if it fails, because I'm not really preparing for anything. I want it to fail. I want to figure it out. I want to get better at it so I can eventually add it in as time goes on, sharpen those techniques so I can eventually add it into that A side of my game.
Right.
And that's the only time you're going to be able to do that, is if you can fully understand how it works and what it doesn't.
Right.
And why it didn't, to add that into your game, to build that comfortable part, to be able to be like in the middle of a match at a high level tournament, you're like, I'm going to pull the trigger on this. I'm going to go for it because I've been doing it over and over. And I understand that in this moment, it's probably going to work. Instead of like, oh, I'm not that good at it. Not going to take that shot. Not going to take that risk. You know what I'm saying?
That's wow. And
it could be anything, any technique, any idea, something that you're really trying to get better at. And I think, and the one of the things I want to put on top of that is, for me anyways, and other people can have different ideas on this, but the best way I've learned a new technique or a new strategy or a new sweep or something like that is I've tied it to something I'm already good at. So my open guard got better because I didn't just sit down on my butt and I was like, all right, I'm going to try to set grips while you're going buck fucking wild. Because I get my guard passed every time. I'm like, why can't I fucking sweep this guy? Well, he's already passed my guard by the time I even set a grip. So I started getting to my home base, close guard, setting my grips, and then I would open it on my terms. And then I'd have controls. I'd be in open guard. I'm like, oh shit, shit's working. But I connected it to something I'm already comfortable with. So that's really accelerated the growth in my open guard and understanding certain grip sets and certain ideas, because I allowed myself more time to set those up from a comfortable spot before I got really uncomfortable. So I wasn't just throwing myself right in the fire with some super good athlete on top, and I'm sitting on my ass and he's fucking doing flips over me, and I don't have any grips, and I'm trying to set grips in midair, and I'm getting fucking the shit beat out of me.
Not a good feeling.
No. And I'm glad I realized that at a certain point, to connect it to something I'm already good at, because that's where I really felt that growth come in. Wow. At an accelerated pace.
That's super powerful.
Yeah.
It seems like such a simple idea too, but I don't think many people do it.
Well, I have brown belt, black belt buddies of mine that come in, and we'll be talking about it, and I'll see them trying to attack something. I'm like, you're green in this area. Why are you not starting with any kind of like idea of how to get there? Yeah. You're like, you're just going to go live from this position. Like, I had a buddy of mine come in the other day, because I talked to him about what I was doing with lasso guard, and he wanted to add into it. And he's like, oh, I'm just getting my guard passed. I'm like, well, how are you starting? He's like, I just sit on my butt and reach for a grip, tell him to go. And I'm like, well, you don't even know what grips are going to serve you yet when you do this. So
just because based off you don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah. And you got a guy that doesn't care. He's running. He's like, if you're just trying to train live with, like, even with like a blue belt, I try this stuff on blue belts. Yeah. And not this, but it's like something like when you train with high level black belts all the time, unless you decide to really open up, a lot of times you don't get shit done.
Just because you guys are just so equal?
Yeah. I mean, or you're going to get stuck in their A game, and you're good enough to defend it enough to where it's like, okay, if something finally happens, it's minutes in and nothing's really going on, unless the level disparity is there. Yeah. Go train with one of those guys that are down in Northwest Arkansas, they're probably going to beat the shit out of me. So unless the level change, I mean, the level is different. Some guys can do that, but for me, I know I need to start somewhere, build my grip somewhere that I'm comfortable, and then start slowly open my guard from there, and slowly finding ways to like, okay, I don't have my grips yet. Let me get here, set them, let him go, and work from there. And I told him that. He understood it, and I feel like he's making that progress too. So it made sense to me. If I'm going to learn something new, I don't want to get thrown right into the fire. I need to figure out the ins and outs of it, and the best way to do that is to connect it to something I was already doing well. Yeah. And that has just been very helpful for me, especially when I'm still, because I'm still learning as much as I can, and always will as a black belt. I don't think the belts really mean too much, but to say I'm a black belt and I still want to learn, I don't want that to ever change. Mostly because I teach, and I need to be able to understand more than I would even maybe want to apply myself. But I'm gonna have so many different various body types and athletic abilities coming in that I can't just show them all close guard and half guard. I know you got some guys that can't even close their guard. They're not even tall enough to wrap their legs around somebody that's bigger than them. So I'm like, how's he going to get as good at close guard as me if he can't even close his damn guard? So I've learned over time that I have to be able to adjust things for people, because they're not going to be able to do exactly what I'm be able to do. Right. They're going to have a good idea of it because I'm good at it. So they'll be able to at least have some sort of knowledge just by training with me. Sure. But I can't expect them all to be as good as me in those positions. We're not all the same body types. Things have to change, like for different weights, for different, like I said, athletic abilities, different heights. They're gonna develop their own style. And what I want is, I want a gym full of people that are not the same. I want to be able to train in my own gym and get a look of every different game of jiu-jitsu and without having to walk out of my doors. Yeah. And that's my main goal. And a byproduct of that is me being able to understand these other techniques so I can teach them right. Right. If that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. It's the most black belt thing I've ever heard.
And I'll say it sometimes, like, I hope I'm doing the right thing. Like a lot of this, dude, for me, it's trial and error. You know,
sure.
I don't know how to put this without sounding like an asshole. I just won't say it like that. I don't think I had the best guidance coming up. I think the dude I came under was pretty intense, and he had a certain idea that we couldn't really veer from. And it didn't always speak to me, and it wasn't always like what he was good at is what he's trying to make us good at. And it didn't always work for me, but I couldn't really veer from it. I feel like every time I veered from it, he would yell at me for trying something new. He's like, "Oh, what's this fancy shit? What's this you're doing?" I'm like, "Well, it's working for me. I'm going to try it." But when he was around, I couldn't really do it. And it just rubbed me the wrong way. And I just felt like I didn't get the growth I needed at that time. So I'm very more open-minded about it with my students. And I try to have a good understanding of most positions that I can understand so I can help them as much as possible.
Yes. Do you think that you can still have that sort of intensity while still, opening yourself up to these other ways of training and thinking?
Yeah, there's time to dial it up and there's times to dial it back, and there's times to, as far as intensity goes, but for me, whether it's me training for myself and I know who I can be a little bit more intense with and who I can't be a little bit more intense with, or me teaching, no matter what, I don't teach the way that I was taught. I'm pretty intense about certain things, but my things are more so like, the way I look at it when I open my gym is, I'm not opening a coffee shop. I'm not here for social club. I do want you to talk. I want you to have fun, but all that has to be done while we're learning the techniques, while we're drilling. Right. I'm very intentional with this time. Yes. If I have a fundamentals class from 6 to 7, we're starting at 6 and we're not ending until 7. Right. We're going to get work done the whole time in between, if that makes sense. I'm not, you are paying me to learn jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Why the fuck would I come in late? Why the fuck would I talk the whole time or allow you guys to sit out and talk the whole time? And what I've realized over time is the more I get brand new people, they don't know any different. So then they just think that's how it is. Right. And then I'll get guys that come in from other gyms who are a little bit more lax and they want to fuck around a little bit more. Yeah. And then, that's where I get some of my lower belts that are beating up purple belts from other gyms, but they may not know that either. They may be at a gym where it's like, you just show up to show up, you put your name on an attendance card, you get a belt after a certain amount of attendance, which I don't believe in that, but there's a lot of gyms that do that. And to me, it's just not the most efficient way to, I'm not going to give out reward points for showing up. It's what you do while you're there. I'm not going to give any promotion off how many times you've been there. I could have 2 guys come in at the same amount, or right at the same day, both brand new beginners, and one decides to be a little bit more intentional with his time, shows up because he wants to be there and learn jiu-jitsu, and one just shows up because he just wants to, right. Or doesn't show up as much as the other guy and he kind of shows up late, or just, you know what I'm saying? Yep. They're not going to excel at the same time, and they don't deserve the belt at the same time. And they might have come at the same time, during the same times, but one of them showed a little bit more, wanted to be a little bit more intentional and cared to be there a little bit more, and one just there to be there and showed up a little bit late, left early, skipped out on the hard rounds. I saw him ducking the people that he shouldn't be ducking, which there's certain people in the room you don't want to train with, like as far as body type goes, things like that. You got to keep it safe in that realm. But if you're ducking a guy that I know you can train with, and you know he's going to beat your ass, and you're afraid of that, I'm like, I don't fucking deal with that, dude. Yeah, right. Take your beatings, man. That's how you're going to get better anyways. But outside of that, I just don't think time is enough. You have to be intentional while you're there. You have to make the most of that time. If you're paying me to be there, and I have people that come to my gym or have always tried to learn from me, that you could either be there to lose weight, learn self-defense, be a world champion. You could be somebody that wants to learn, a woman that wants to learn how to defend herself. Sure. Why am I wasting your fucking time? Why we come in here, we're talking for 15 minutes before I even start the class. Right. I'm not wasting time. So that's, when I talk about my intensity, it's not that I teach the whole class, like, let's fucking get after it. You know what I'm saying? But we're starting on time. We're getting to work. It's not hard. It's just you're there for a reason.
Right.
You're going to get your work in. Your
Yeah.
work's going to be done. You're
Right.
going to get better at jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
You're paying me to get better at jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
I'm not going to waste your time.
Right.
And I love it. And that's why, taking it back to one of the very first things I said was, I want to give everybody an opportunity at my gym, especially in my community. I really want it to be a great spot to be. But at the same time, it is not going to be for everybody. It's not everybody wants that. If I have somebody that's continuously late, and that's for no reason at all. I've been in gyms to where people just show up 15 minutes late because that's just the person they are. They had nothing fucking going on. They could have been there on time, but they chose not to be there.
It's all good, bro. It's all good.
It's not all good with me.
That's what I mean, though.
And it's like, yeah, and they're lax, and that's cool, man. But you're not getting the most out of yourself, and you're not being a very good training partner either, because you're showing up late, you're fucking off when it's time to train. You're not really into it, and it's just you're not really maximizing while you're there.
Yeah.
And it just...
You could be hindering the other people there, too.
Yeah, and if I have to... people will walk in right after I show like a warm-up technique, and I put them on time, or I just started showing the very first technique we're in a learning class, and I have this guy that was fucking off comes in, and I have to re-show him the technique when I could be helping somebody out.
Exactly.
That was already here on time. And now I'm taking time away from them. Because they were here a little bit more intentional, and I saw you fucking around in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And now you want to walk in a little bit late. It's just... And I have no problem telling those guys that I don't care. I care about culture more than I care about the money. I'm going to have plenty of people walk in that want to be a part of that culture.
Yeah.
So I have no problem telling people, it might be better for you to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's other gyms here that might fit you a little bit better.
Right.
Because the way I'm trying to build things here, because just like anything else, man, the more you have that and you don't nip it in the bud, it's going to...
Fester.
Somebody else is going to do it.
Yeah.
Somebody else will be like, oh, he gets to do that. I'm going to do it. And you start seeing this, and over time, if you do not catch it, that will be your culture.
The whole
Everything
gym.
you fucking hate, that will be your culture.
Yep.
And at that point, how are you going to get it back? You're going to tell those people now they got to show up on time. They're going to leave.
Yep.
Like, what do you mean? I've been doing it for 3 years.
Yeah.
Now you're going to be like, hey, it's time to show up. They're not going to fucking listen. They just did it for 3 years straight, and you were cool with it.
Yep.
So I'm not.
What's up with you, Devin? Come on, man. We've always done this.
It's exactly what it's going to be. And I just don't let it get to that point. I don't want it to get to that point because I don't want to do damage control. When I realize,
hell no,
there's ways to, man. And I've realized, man, really that people respect that.
Yeah.
Like when that's a straight up thing out the get, people respect that. And also when they're going to be late, they tell me and they have reasons. I'm like, that's great. Like, it's not that I don't like, if you're late, you can't come.
Yeah.
But if like you got out of work late, don't skip jiu-jitsu because of that. If you can still make it.
Yeah.
But you had a reason.
Yeah.
That's a completely different, and people will know that.
Yes.
It's not, people will know that guy came in late because he's getting off work a little bit late, or kids had soccer practice and now I have time to come. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm not going to not allow people to come in because of that, but you can tell who's there because of that, or they'll tell you can tell who the guys who's just fucking off. Yeah. Who's just kind of wasting time.
It's a different energy.
Some people look at it as like, at least he's paying his dues. And like, I don't give a fuck about his dues, man. I care about, I don't want that. I just don't want it there. It's not the culture I'm trying to build. It's not what I want. And that, if you do not catch it in time, that will take over.
Right.
So I just don't fuck with it.
Yeah. Well, the question there's like, well, at least he's paying his dues. The real question is, what is the real cost that is taking on this gym?
Exactly.
Yeah. He pays whatever. I don't know what your monthly is, $100 a month or whatever, but what is he doing to the culture? Yeah. What is he doing to the mentality? What the intensity? What is he doing to the overall vision of our whole unit? Damage. That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to look at it too, because people really only see one side of that I might be losing the $100 a month or whatever. Yeah. But to me, I'm gaining a spot for somebody else that wants to be in there and wants to be more intentional with their time. I'm losing that guy, but that doesn't mean that's the last time. That's the last spot that I have to fill. Nobody else is going to come take it. Somebody else is going to walk in the door. Yeah. Somebody else is going to fit. Somebody else might walk in the door and not fit, and that's cool, dude. Yeah. I'm not, I want it to be for everybody. I'm going to give everybody a chance, but not everybody wants that out of jiu-jitsu. Some people do just want to show up and talk and be with friends, and I get that side of it too, and I allow them that. Like, I have a great time in my gym. Everybody does. Yeah. Everybody has a great, and we talk and we joke and we have fun, but work is number one. Yeah. And that's all the way into my kids' class, man. My kids are the same way, dude. That's awesome.
Work is like, when are we going to play the game? I'm like, well, you didn't finish your drills. How are we going to play this game? Yeah. You didn't get better at jiu-jitsu today. Like, the sign doesn't say games out front. It says jiu-jitsu. That's what you're here for. Right. You do jiu-jitsu, you play games. Yeah. That's just, there shouldn't be any kind of reward without the work. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that could be harsh, but that's just how it's going to be at my gym. Anyways. Yeah. And,
so did that mentality come, did you always have this sort of mentality, or was that over time, being around these certain...
I think being around, I think clean built Dustin Denes built, you know, a little bit of that into me with the work ethic for sure. He took it to some extremes that I didn't want to take it to, but I understood the value of why he was doing it, and I tried to make it not as extreme as far as like how I'm going to handle it. If so, you know, you get a bad batch every now and then and you got to do something about it. There's certain ways I'm going to handle it compared to how he handled it. But I did, that kind of built it because I wasn't always, I don't know. When it came to sports and things like that, and something that I really enjoyed, I didn't want to fuck around. I didn't want to waste time.
Yeah, like I'm here to play baseball
I'm
whatever
there,
it was. You know?
I wanted to be the best that I could be, and it wasn't better than everybody else on the team or anything like that. I was like, I take to this.
Just personally.
I want to be good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be good showing up late. I know that shit. I'm not going to be good leaving early and not getting my rounds in. I know that shit. I'm not going to be good talking about bullshit while we're supposed to be training.
Right.
And that's just how I've always looked at it.
Yeah.
And I happened to find a coach that also agreed that way and made it very extreme, but
dude,
he's a wild man. But
I really enjoyed his seminar. Like I think JW was the first seminar that I ever went to, and I was like, that's awesome. It was a scissor sweep that you know, you taught us, and I was like, I still got it. You know, I love it. Then I went to Dustin's seminar, and I left being like, did not know that jiu-jitsu could be at that level. I really, really enjoyed the intensity though, and the way that you are describing your gym. I think it would be like perfect. I really like that intentional, you know, focused, like this is what we're here to do. Yeah. I feel like I get my worth out of it. You know, I go home, I'm like, I actually got better today, you know.
Depending on what Clean is teaching in the seminar, because he's got his moments for different techniques, but that is definitely one thing that everybody's gotten out of him was if you went there and spent your money, you were going to work. Not only were you going to start on time, it says 2 hours on the flyer, it could be 4. Yeah. And he's not going to charge you anymore. You're gonna, if you're there to do the work, not everybody at once gets up and is like, okay, we're done. He won't stop. Yeah. He won't I've done seminars. We've been at gyms to where it started at 7 and ended at 11 or midnight. Wow. And guys were just afraid to tell them they had to leave. And finally guys were like dead, couldn't move. We're like, I got work in the morning, dog. I got to go. Right. And eventually like, all right, let's wrap it up. But you know, Clean, especially in you know, early days when we were really come up under him, that was the one thing for sure. Whatever you went there for, you were going to learn it. You were going to learn why you were doing it. It didn't matter the body type. He would make it work for anybody. And those were, and I got a lot out of that. Those were the good sides I got from Clean, and understanding that you can modify things to make it work for anybody. But he was very big on, a couple of things he was very big on that I got to give him real credit for is remembering names. Remembering names, incredible. Understanding people, unbelievable. He would get it after the first shot, and that means so much to people. And I don't want to remember it just to impress you. I want to, if you're in my gym, I want to know who you are. Yeah. I don't want you to look like you're just a number. I want to know you, man. I want to build a relationship with you. So, remembering names, making them feel like you want them to be there, which you do. If you're there with the right intentions, you do want them to be there. And there could be white to black belt in there, and the same amount he would spend with the black belts, he would spend with the white. Nobody 100%. Got special attention. Yeah, everybody had to be good at it. Yes. And he would adjust it for everybody. Right. And there were seminars with him that were freaking awesome that. And then there's times where it would get pretty hairy, and somebody would get choked to sleep, and then 5 people are sleeping, and now it's no longer about the technique. It's like, which one of us is dying next? Which one's getting choked to sleep next? Yeah. And makes it uncomfortable. That's where the intensity goes too far. That's where it's like, I'm not going to do that. I'll lead up to that, but I'm not going to fucking choke anybody to sleep. I'm going to show you why the move works, but I'm not going to talk through the technique knowing you're going to go to bed. Yeah. Just to prove a point. Right. To understand how this technique works. I'm not going to do this. It's fucking dangerous. Yeah. To do it to one person, let alone 5 other people, because they asked a question, where do I need to put my hand? Do I put it here? He's like, I'll show you where to put it. God. Here. Yeah. And they're tapping, and if you're not tapping him, you're tapping the mat, he won't respect it. Is that a Brazilian thing? It's a Clean thing, man. I've never really asked him about it, but he's got the day after he gave me a blue belt, he choked me to sleep 4 times. Wow. Back to back to back to back. And it was with a clock choke. And the reason why is because he would run a clock choke to where you could not tap him. You're completely inverted and you're trying to reach, but you can't. So you hit the mat and he doesn't respect it. So you go to sleep. So you'd have to know that he was running it and make sure, understand that you're getting tapped by it. Don't fight it. Find a position you can hit him. You can tap him. Not only tap him, you got to fucking punch your way out. Oh, God. 10 good slaps to get him to let go. So he takes it to he's got some different demons he takes it to. Yeah. And sometimes that would come out in his seminars. And it's, when you're talking about how much you enjoyed that one, there's a lot that were like that, and there's a lot on the other side of it. And that's, I mean, I don't like talking like that without the dude in the room. You know, I'd
100%.
rather be here for him to say that to his face. But that's as far as like the extremes could go. And I felt like there was a really good, really awesome time with him, to where if you're there to work and learn, you were going to learn.
Yeah.
But there, you know, the opposing side of that, you could get some guy that's like a 5-6 time world champion, a black belt, and you're showing up just to take a picture. He's not going to show anything cool. He's going to fucking talk the whole time. He's going to show bullshit. He's there to make money. He's there to do a seminar tour, get some cash, show some shit that he probably doesn't do. And that's going to be like, oh, wow, let's fucking take a video of this. This is crazy. Flying inverted scissor fucking omoplatas. Great. I'm going to add that right in. He's going to show it 3 times. You're going to do 5,000 different variations.
Everybody's doing real good.
And then
real
a picture line.
Yeah.
Let's take pictures. Everybody took a picture. Look who I got to take a picture with today. You didn't learn shit. You spent $150 on a seminar for a picture. Yeah. So I'd rather be on the clean side of it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not the extreme side of it, but you know, you're there to work. It was a 2-hour seminar. You did 4 hours of it. You can't walk the next day because how fucking sore you are, but you're never going to forget.
Never.
It's built, it's ingrained in your system pretty much in one day, or you at least have some sort of pathway to figure it back out.
Yeah.
As compared to, you learn 27 techniques. All of them are super advanced, and you go home and you're like, what the fuck did I even do?
Yeah, right.
You're in the shower that night like,
you can't walk through one of them.
What was that? What did we just do?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
But I would say even for clean, one thing that it did, the biggest thing it did for me is it expanded my understanding of the intensity. Like we can go that hard. Like that's how deep we can go.
Yeah.
I just hadn't experienced that. I even told Dave, I was like, I did not know jiu-jitsu could be like that. And he goes, when I took a clean seminar for the first time, that's what I thought. I was like, okay, good. If you thought that, then I think that we're on the same page.
Which you'll break through some mental and physical barriers doing things like that. You'll learn a lot about yourself in those kind of situations when you're like, you're going there to think you're learning jiu-jitsu, and you're going to learn a lot about yourself in
that's
that
what
moment,
it was,
what you're willing to do to learn this technique. And yeah, man, there was a lot of, I could go on and on for all the good things that clean had did and has done and done for people. And you know, and I'll always have a good spot in my heart for those moments. Sure. But it is what it is. I'm glad I had those moments in my life, and I'm glad other people got to experience those great moments as well.
Yeah, 100%.
And hopefully down the line, he can keep those experiences going for other people. Yeah. Eventually.
Yeah. Well, even with you, one thing that I admired about you was Patrick being like, yeah, he trained under a clean. And I'm like, oh, damn, I just did this seminar, which was crazy. Devin is underneath the dude. Like, that means Devin is as intense as he is. So I mean, immediately I was an admirer of you, just to be able to put up, like, I did a seminar, and you went to class after class, or a pupil of him.
First guy to go white to black belt under him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Very first to go. He's had other black belts before me, but I was the first one to start at white and go all the way up. And I'm,
that's huge.
That is, I don't think lineage matters as much as I used to think it did nowadays, but I do think there's something to be said to really put in time in a system to go white to black in a legitimate system. Because that's harder and harder to do nowadays, especially because, I mean, it is, at the end of the day, you're the one paying for lessons. Something new hot comes in town, you're going to, people leave. They want to join that. They want to, you see guys now, they got a blue, purple, brown, and black from 4 different people. You know what I'm saying? Right. And it's not that, if you got good at jiu-jitsu and it did something for you and you ended up succeeding because of it, what can you say about it? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? What can you say? It was his choice. It's not the guy that's teaching's choice. If I have people that are like, hey, I think I'm going to fare better over here, I'll be the first one to shake your hand and say, I hope you do, man. I hope you do. And maybe that is the best choice. Maybe it's not. They're going to find out. But I used to put so much into lineage and like, oh man, this guy didn't get all these belts. I'm like, nowadays, I'm like, man, if you're good at jiu-jitsu and you're a good person and you're doing the right things, who fucking cares, man? I don't care. I on the backside of that, I am very happy I did that. And it always means something to me. And even to this day, awesome. I'm not affiliated with Clean anymore. We don't even talk to each other. But I still have my diplomas on the wall. And I'm never going to take those down because I earned that shit under one of the craziest fucking Americans to ever do it. You know what I'm saying? And the shit that I went through to get there.
I can't imagine.
The fucking demons that I saw from that guy and the shit that he put me through. Yeah. Nobody can ever take that, and I'm not going to take that from myself by saying, oh, that wasn't a part of my life. I'm not going to erase that part. No. I'm 100% going to give credit where credit's due and understand that. And
I think you have.
Things happen and people go 2 different paths in life. What he wants out of his stuff now is not what I thought was the best direction for me and my students. So we split and I tried to do it the best way possible. And at first it was great and it ended up not being so great. And it is what it is, but I'm never going to not acknowledge that and where I came from. And And on the backside of that, how happy I am now with the team I represent now and the love I get now. And it's a completely different side of it when it comes to training and when it comes to getting after it. They're fucking on that. They're on that level.
Yeah.
They're all high level black belts, dude. They're all champions in their own right. And that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be in it when it was time to get down. It's time to get down. But when it's not, let's fucking decompress, man.
Yeah,
Let's
a skill in
let's
itself.
pull back a little bit.
Yeah.
And let's have some fun. Let's trade techniques. Let's be open to whereas with clean, we did our work. And that's like what he showed is what he showed. You have a question, if it wasn't in his realm, he'd either say it was bullshit or he'd be like, not going to show you, not going to do it. It's not for me. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you can get really good at certain things, but you can't really get good at and you're not really going to get really good at everything, but you want, like, if you're going to, again, teach or compete at a high level, you got to be aware.
Yeah.
And when I was competing, like, especially purple belt going to the brown belt, competing at some of the biggest tournaments you can compete in, and I'm in my mind, clean's like, you've got these past techniques in this certain this pocket that's like you're gonna fucking kill all these guys, and I go out there and it's a game that I just would never train with. I never learned how to do it like a good open guard. I'm stuck in this fucking spire guard and I'm sitting there trying to like crush this hard, stop him, crush his fucking arm. Like I can't even get there. I can't even get to fucking side control. The guy's guard's so good, and it's a guard I've never learned how to defend or beat.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Not a
Because
good
we're
feeling.
so fucking in tune with certain ways to get after it and certain techniques to hit, and we wouldn't really branch off of those. So I had to teach a lot of jiu-jitsu to myself starting at purple belt. I had to, when I wasn't in the room with clean, I had to branch off. I had to have different training partners. That's when I was going to KCBJJ a lot, training with Travis Conley, who's a great black belt now. Charlie Hirsch is a great black belt now. Me and my buddy David would David, who's also a black belt under clean. He was the second one to go from white to black with clean.
Wow.
He owns Body Fit in Midtown.
Okay.
If you ever see me, hashtag Vava Pirata team. He's Vava on Pirata. We just put the shit together before I left. We wanted to have an affiliation with each other. Our second team in town that our teams could train together. Because we knew I was leaving well before everybody else did. Everybody else did. So we had plans in place to make sure that it was a legitimate split that benefited anybody in our camp, anybody in our team. We started that team together. But me and him there's many years to where we would just go up in the lab and try to figure shit out. You know, we couldn't really ask Clean about these things because he didn't care about certain techniques or certain ideas. He was so, I always say Clean's still living in 1999 and 2000 Brazil. That's where he's living in his mind, and that's where his technique lives. And, you know, maybe in his own world, that's when he won the best shit. That's when he submitted Marcelo Garcia back at brown belt. And, you know, in his own right, maybe that's okay for him to have not evolved much past that. But then he'll tell me to evolve, and I go to do it, and I show him a technique that I've evolved with, and he's like, it's bullshit. I'm like, give me some fucking constructive criticism on how to make this better, because if it's bullshit, well, I just lost to it 2 weeks ago in a tournament. How's it? The guy, if you think I'm a legitimate brown belt because you gave it to me and I'm getting fucking smoked by that technique, you're going to call it bullshit. What am I to think? Oh, I'm bullshit then.
That's exactly what I thought.
And it's, and weird enough, that's kind of how it became, man. Like I know I've fucking jumped all over the place here, but
that's what the podcast's all about.
That's when I was talking about that mental coach. I hired him specifically because I was so fucking down. I was losing. I think at the beginning of brown belt, I went like 1-10, 1-15. And the one guy I beat was a blue belt out of Naga.
Oh no.
I ain't afraid to say it, man. I got a fucking sweet Naga belt because of it, but broke a fucking blue belt off as a brown belt. What's good? But I got smoked by all good brown belts. You know, like anytime I go to step up to a legitimate brown belt to test if I was there, wasn't close. Wasn't on the fucking same level.
Wow.
The same tricks that I thought were gonna, like, I didn't really evolve the technique at all. I was sticking to the same things because we didn't really get a chance to evolve it. It was always the same shit.
Yeah.
He just wanted us to be the best
at that.
But he would show techniques that didn't always connect. So we'd be really good in pockets, but we weren't great at connecting them. So in those mid grounds to where we weren't good at, they would get exploited and we'd be fucked if we got stuck there. You know what I'm saying?
Now you're behind.
And with these higher level guys, every now and then, okay, I get them in the zone and I'd make something of it. I get them in my zone, but if I didn't get them there, dude, I was fucked. And I had no way of getting them there. I had no connecting dots. If I was stuck in some sort of open guard and I want to close my guard, I didn't know how to fucking get there. I did from half guard because that's what we did. But what about, you know, if I have a lasso, how am I going to get my hips up, or how am I going to create angles to get my legs up and around this guy? Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Not good.
It's not, especially in the heat of the moment when you got the fucking Dominic Bell from Otto scoring 16 points on you, and I'm like, I'm just trying to fucking slow this guy down. And I'm, you know, it's bad enough I can't get him in my home zone, and because I can't, I'm getting fucking starched out here, dude. I'm just like, you look at some of my old flow grappling videos, man, and it's just like, I don't watch them. I don't get anything out of them because I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't have a game plan. I don't learn anything from that. I learned that I fucking was not prepared. That's what I learned.
You're brown belt at this point?
Oh, yeah. I got my brown belt in end of 2015.
Okay.
So this is 2016 going into 2018. 2018, hired a mental coach at the end of 2017. And this guy...
What was his name?
His name's Caleb Rogers. I do want to shout him out. Caleb Rogers, I believe on socials, he's mental sensei, and he works with some high-level UFC fighters now. But I was lucky enough... I wouldn't say lucky, but... I got him when he was first starting his business, and he was trying to figure out his own pathway. So I was kind of like I think he was able to use me as a learning tool and ended up benefiting us both.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
It was great because it ended up working out for me, and I think he got to pick what worked with me and what didn't and sharpen it and make it better for his higher level. Like he's got guys in the UFC now that pay him big. Like he's doing good, and I love to see it because, and I tell him, and I've told him even, after we worked together, that I think he is one of the main reasons I was able to make a switch and start winning things. I didn't win anything major until brown belt. Brown belt is when I started winning my biggest stuff. You just like went in
here and there and up and down.
I mean, at blue belt, we didn't travel too much. We did Worlds 2010, 2011 at blue belt, and I just, even in the black belt, man, I'll tell you, I don't know if it still might be a mental thing or I'm just the unluckiest world competitor ever. I've won pans. I won nogi pans. 3-time American national champion. I've never won a match at Worlds. I've done Worlds 6 times. I've never won a match. Lost every fucking time.
Wow.
So, and now it's a running joke to myself. I'm like, see if I just need to. I'm chasing. That's the one title that I've put on a board. I wanted to be a national champion. I don't know why. I think it fucking sounds cool.
Yeah.
So I chased it and got 3 of them, which is nice. I want to be a nogi pan champion specifically. Another reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It took me 4 years to win it, but I did it. 4 years eating shit, finally got it done.
Yeah.
Worlds was always on there, and Worlds has been my fucking, I don't know. It's just something that I just could never.
Yeah.
I just couldn't put it together at the right time, and there was moments where I had brackets that favored me, like at blue belt especially. My second year doing, I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm fucking going all the way. I lose to some Gracie Baja kid that can't even see me. He's got to take his glasses off and he's squinting. Can't even see where I'm at. I stand in front of him like, all right, time to go. And he fucking blasts me across the mat. I'm like, okay.
Oh, here we are.
All right, we're fucking going now, aren't we? And
right.
I end up losing by 2 points or something just because just didn't. I don't know. Maybe when it was in the pyramid, I thought it was the coolest fucking thing. And I'm glad they're going back there this year post-COVID. I think that's the most badass environment in the gi for sure. That's the fucking best at the pyramid. World Championships. Have you ever been out there?
I haven't.
Man, even if you you want to go out there and the fucking who's who is there.
Oh,
I ran into everybody there. Yeah. Jose Aldo was a champion at the time, and I was sitting right next to him. He was just fucking there supporting his Nova Union teammates,
That's
man.
Awesome.
He was a champion at the time.
Yeah.
And he's there. Like everybody. Nick Diaz, Wiz Khalifa, they'll be there. He's got one of his bodyguards competes. He's been
That's
there.
That's badass.
Yeah. So it's a mix of everybody, but it just
in Vegas, right?
No, it's in Long Beach. It's at the
in California.
Yeah, it's at the I can't remember. It's one of the Long Beach. It's the college that has the pyramid. Their gymnasium's in a pyramid. I can't remember it, but it's a Long Beach college that they have it at, and they've been doing it there since they came to America. Their first one in America was 2007.
Oh wow!
IBJJF, CBJJF.
That seems very recent.
Their first world championship in America was 2007, and since then they've been doing it there up until COVID year.
Right.
They did it last year in Anaheim, and an in-store world championship. But if you listen to anybody talk about it, it's like. It just wasn't the pyramid. The energy wasn't the same.
Yeah.
You faced the same caliber of opponents.
Yeah.
You're a champion no matter what. You win a world title, you win a world title. It doesn't matter if it's in the fucking streets. If you're facing the same caliber opponents, it is what it is. But the energy there is just fucking insane.
That's weird.
And I could just not. And, I got plenty of opportunities. The good thing about jiu-jitsu is you can go up in age and things like that.
Yeah.
Be a black belt forever. I'll compete at black belt, obviously, forever. And as time goes on, you can go up in age bracket. So I will have every opportunity that I will allow myself to train for and prepare for here until I'm done. And I'm hoping at this point, just win a fucking match.
Yeah.
Fucking go win a match out there. Jesus Christ. I get skunked in California. I've won in every other state. California just eats me alive, dude.
Yeah.
So, but as far as the other goals that I've had in jiu-jitsu, I think I've nailed them all. I pretty much, and I've got it written down at old boards, like old whiteboards in my basement that they were there for so long that you can't even clean them off. They just like stuck to the board. So I've got boards from like 2014 that says, no-gi pan champion, American national champion. And it's cool to go down every now and look back and like, I'm glad I fucking stuck the path and got a couple of these things done. I didn't get them all done, and I still have chances to do it. But as of right now, at black belt, I was able to get them done, and I was able to do it in the harder belts. So I was able to, with that mental coach, eventually make a switch and start really dialing myself in and where I needed to be to win those type of medals. And a big credit to that is working with a guy like that. And I'm not afraid to say it, man. I'm, you know, back when I first did it, it was still kind of fairly new. I think people talk a lot more about mentality now and the mental game of it. But, you know, when I was coming up, it was just being a fucking tough guy. Yeah. You know, just being tough. And I can be tough all day. Doesn't mean I'm good at jiu-jitsu. You know, I'm probably tougher than a lot of guys I face, but they're better at jiu-jitsu. Right. The game is not being tough. It's being better at jiu-jitsu. So, and I lost. And I realized that, and I realized it wasn't all about being fucking tough. So I got better at jiu-jitsu, and what do you know? You win some shit. You get lucky every now and then.
Being tough only can get you so far.
It'll allow you to stay in the room long enough to learn if you're willing to.
True.
That'll be like, you take your ass whippings long enough, you're gonna want to learn jiu-jitsu. And I've beat some guys that were better at me at jiu-jitsu because I was tough, and I was able to score too and fucking tough through some crazy shit, some
it's
crazy
part of
positions.
The game for sure.
It is, and it has its value. It really does, but it's not the reliable side of it. The reliable side of it is getting better.
The technique.
At jiu-jitsu. And learning how to apply it properly. And not shit's hitting the fan. You're like, well, time to get tough. Time to fucking... I'm glad I have that. It's a great quality. I mean, I think I'm using it better now than I ever did. You know, I toughed through breaking my neck for 6 months before I had a broken neck when I was a blue belt.
You trained with a broken neck?
For 6 months. Yeah.
What the...
6 months. I broke it.
That's not tough, dude. That's dumb. That's beyond tough.
It's fucking stupid. And it's something that is... it's carried. It's all the way through. Like, I have a terrible neck now. Whoa. But I didn't know it was my neck. It was hitting a nerve. So I herniated a disc and had some stuff going on with my vertebrae at C5, C6. But when it happened, my neck wasn't touched. It was just something that atrophied over time. And then during a certain training session, it completely gave out and it landed on a nerve and it hit and kind of was in my shoulder. I wasn't feeling the pain in my neck at all. It was in my shoulder. So I thought I had a stinger or muscle pain. So I trained through it until my muscle completely atrophied. I had like half a pec, no tricep. There was like a line going down in my forearm to where you could see where the nerve was dying, and I couldn't feel my first two fingers. My first finger for sure on this arm. Whoa. And I finally was like, hey man, I need to go get an MRI. Like something at fucking 6 months of this shit. Like I can barely use this arm now. And I was lucky enough at the time, not to say lucky, but age did help me out. I was 20. So I was able to catch it in time. But it was so far gone that physical therapy and the shots, steroid shots or whatever you know what I'm talking about? Where they'll put a shot directly, and I got 3 of them in my neck. Yeah, the cortisone. They put 2 of them in the back of my neck, and one went through the front. Long ass needle to hit the disc. And I was like halfway that, like they didn't knock me out, so I was awake and I was like, I just feel this pinch. I'm like, what's going on, man? This guy's got this needle going through the front of my neck, dude. So it's it was a terrible experience, but. Trained like that, had to have surgery. My first tournament back was Worlds, which is another stupid thing. I got back on the mat 3 months after surgery, started training for Worlds, modified some things to not allow people to break my fucking neck off, which I had some really good training partners at that time, which would allow me to push through it and not worry about getting slammed on my neck or them doing some fucking neck crank that was going to hurt it. But yeah, man, I'm going to feel that forever. I got a nasty scar on the back of my neck because of it. I re-injured it beginning of 2020 and got another MRI, and just because of that surgery and me training through it, from T1 up to my C1 is either bulged or herniated, and I have nerve damage in both arms now. So, and every now and then I'll feel it. After I sit here for a while and I stand up, I'm gonna feel a tingle go down this arm. So it's just something that I know is there now, and I know how to monitor it. And I had a really good physical therapist this last time, and they gave me great things to deal with it when it flares up, and it's gonna flare up from here on out. And something that I just have to be aware of, and I've had to adjust my game because of it. And but yeah, that's where being tough does not pay off. That's where being too tough can be a detriment.
Back to bite you,
And I would really like to enjoy it. And I'm 34 now, and I've had, I think, some more gnarly injuries than most guys have made it through their whole lives. And I still want to train until I can't. And I want that until I can't to be way late into my life. I don't want it to be next year because I fucking was too tough.
Right. When you should have taken time off when What so I had a pretty big injury. I tore my pec off my bone in a gnarly looking arm bar, And like, I've had trouble mentally getting back into it because I'm like scared to death to go through the whole thing. And it's not 100% yet. Like even before I was doing some yoga and I did like a down dog thing and I felt it go, like I felt it kink. I'm like, God damn it.
Which is going to take away confidence in doing anything like jiu-jitsu if you can't even barely hold yourself up.
Exactly. And every time I've been training, I just like to be on the mat just to like continue the rep of like, I'm seeing it. I'm, getting a roll in, but I always tell them like no arm bars, no Kimuras. Like I can't do it yet. I hope to, I mean, someday I hope to, but like, what would be your advice as far as like getting back into it? And
I would definitely say, and this is the great thing about a team and camaraderie in jiu-jitsu and having good people around you, training at a good gym of people that want to take care of you. Because at any certain point in time that you have an injury, and then when it's fresh, obviously take your time and let it heal. But as you're coming back, you can do things like you can be very specific with your training, and you can have partners be like, hey, if you get here, we're done. Like if you can latch onto my arm, it's my job now to let you get there. But if you get there, we're fucking done. You're not going to crank on it, right? Yeah. So you can still at least train it enough to let them get there, but you're not fighting out of anything, right? Yeah. Or you're just going to tell them not to touch it at all, and you're going to train with the right people that allow you. And you'll sometimes you might have to be very specific, like train a certain guard or certain pass to where you don't use that at all, or very minimal. Yeah. Which is going to allow you to get really good at that pass, but it's for a reason. Right. And in your head, you're going to tell yourself, well, I'm not fully getting, people will tell themselves, well, I'm not doing the full thing, so what the fuck does it really matter? I'm just going to take this time off. Yeah. But you realize the more time you take off, the harder it is to come back. When in reality is when it feels like it's healthy enough to do some pushing and pulling, maybe not at all ready for it to get attacked. Yeah. Well, if you're in a gym full of great dudes that are willing to look out for you, they're going to be willing to play the games that you want, the style that you want to play to make sure you can still get the work in that you need, but you're safe. Yeah. And ultimately, you got to be around people like that. And you are at a gym like Dave's. Like,
100%.
It's fucking one of my favorite places on earth, dude. Me and Dave have never been teammates, but we're almost closer than teammates. Every time I see him, it's great energy, man. Dave's a great guy, and I love that dude. And I know he's got plenty of guys in the gym that will. I'll just say, don't train with no new white belts. Yeah, don't do that.
I've definitely turned some down. I'm like, sorry, I can't do it.
And you shouldn't feel bad about it. Yeah, you shouldn't. You're there. I mean, you want to be a good teammate, but at that point, you're being bad to yourself. Yeah, you want to help out this new white belt. Dude, training with new white belts is the closest thing you get to is getting into a street fight in jiu-jitsu. Sure. You get some athletic white belt. It's first couple weeks in. Yep. You're going to feel like you got into a fucking street fight. And if you already have something that's kind of weak or recovering, and they don't know how to hold themselves up. Exactly. They could fall on it wrong. Yeah. Might even be a jiu-jitsu technique. Yep. You could fall on it wrong and you're fucking out.
Right. And they don't mean anything by it. It's just the ignorance of not knowing the sport or the body, and it's not their fault.
So you should be okay with when you're like turning that down. Oh, and if they're fucking pissed off about it, then fuck them. They'll go there's other people in the room. Go train with somebody else. They want to think you're a pussy because of it. Fuck them, man.
And I will say, every white belt I've turned down, very compliment. Cool. Very nice.
Yeah, as they should
problem.
Be.
Yeah, everybody's cool. No one's been a dick. It's been good. But I do like what you said as far as like, because I told him like no arm bars, no Kimuras, and then I'm rolling. I'm like, man, that's a really big part of the game. Yeah. That I'm not training, but as I keep getting better, I like the idea of like, you can snatch my arm, but we stop. Yeah. And I like that because then we can start to train that, and I can start to mentally build back up and figure out like when it gets here. Oh, I screwed up, but I don't have to worry about going no.
Yeah. You're training with somebody that can control themselves, control their technique. Somebody that has a pretty good understanding of jiu-jitsu, and also if you don't do that and you just rely on it to heal up and get better, well then you're taking months out of jiu-jitsu. Now you're out of shape. Now you got to do that whole fucking I got to get in shape first before I come back kind of shit. But when you take that much time off and you get out of shape, you're not used to doing jiu-jitsu, it's so much more beneficial staying in the room somewhat doing something. Yeah. Because if you come back in, you're already in shape and you're starting to train, even though you're being specific, you're going to force shit because you're so tired, which could potentially injure something else. Right. So there's a lot that's lacking there when you take that much time off. You need to take a certain amount of time off, especially after a surgery or anything like that, to let things recover to a certain spot. But whenever you're comfortable to do some movement, you should start doing some movements and you should look at it that you're getting better at something else. Yeah. And allowing that to heal. And when that heals, you can get back to doing all the other stuff. Jiu-jitsu, shit's never going to leave. Yeah, you're always going to have a chance to get better at it. But in this moment in time, you're getting better at something else because you're allowing yourself to heal. Right. It's not that you're getting worse at that because you can't do it. Yeah. You're getting better at something else why it heals. And if you think of it that way, shit will work itself out.
Yeah, much more positive. Yeah. And one thing that really shifted was my mentality of drilling. Because I was just like a hungry white belt. It's like, I want to roll. I love rolling. It's fast. It's fun. I never tap anybody out, but it's fun. And then after the injury, it was like, wow, the benefit in like we've been talking about intentional drilling,
Yep.
even super slow, methodical. I'm talking slow, methodical stuff. I find much more value in, partially because I was forced to do it. That's all I could do. I would show up to the gym, I would drill with someone, and then when they rolled, I just drilled it in my head, the move, or I'd do shrimps, or I would, whatever I could just to move, because I couldn't roll with these guys. And over time, I've slowly got, myself back into rolling and, limited rolling or whatever. But I really like that now, because now I value drilling. I value drilling more than rolling.
Yeah.
And going forward, it's like, that's how you get the technique.
Yeah.
Is you drill it 1,000 times and
learn the ins and outs of it.
Exactly.
And you can drill at various speeds. That's where when you're first learning a move, you want to drill why it works to a T, what's going to make it work on a non-resisting body, and then as you get better at it, add some intensity to it. But that's a perfect time to, like, anything you can do with your right arm, certain things you can do there. It's like start drilling certain techniques that are a little bit more right arm dominant, things on that side, drill it, and then when you can, pick up the intensity on it, right? Because you're still getting work in while you're letting that heal, and you're drilling just different ideas, things that you probably would have never got a chance to if you didn't get hurt, or it would have ever gave a chance to if you were.
I didn't even know to give a chance to, Yeah. Same with like doing the yoga, like I said. I have such an emphasis on keeping my body not stiff, flexible, and being flowy, and being like, if I do get caught in these things, I think Gordon Ryan's pretty good at that. You remember that arm bar he didn't tap to that one time, and it's like, dear God. But being in that sense of where if I'm going to be all pretzeled up with somebody, like, I better be able to pretzel up and not be like, dear God, I'm tearing my shoulder
apart.
apart.
Move and you feel like stuff's not going to be arranged right when they're done.
Exactly. And I'm a 250-pound guy. I probably should be 220. Like, that's what I should walk around at, and I would feel great. Yeah. And if I'm going to be that, and I'm going to have that much mass, like, I got to be able to train my body to be able to handle that, especially in the momentum and the velocity that sometimes when you roll. So now there's more emphasis on drilling. There's more emphasis on maintenance, I guess, body maintenance prior and post rolling and training. And like, those are all benefits and things that obviously I wasn't focused on before the injury. Yeah. Obviously I told JW, it's like very painful and very costly lesson to learn, but good lessons. Yeah. And I'm thankful for them.
Yeah. And you use those lessons the right way, it can change the trajectory and how you learn in the future when other things come up. Like, it's allowing you to build just a really good habits of, you're never really out of it. There's so much that you can do in jiu-jitsu, and it'll allow you to learn things that you may not have ever even thought you were going to get good at, because you had to take time to learn something different. And there's one specific thing you said there. Afterwards, after training, nobody fucking does. After training, I think is the most important time to stretch. After training, which I'm sitting there looking at you in the face of the liar to say that I do it all the time, which I don't. Yeah. But when I do it, it's after, something's hurt, and I was like, man, I should fucking do this all the time. Yeah. Because it's a maintenance thing. If you're able to do it when you're right after training, you cool down and you stretch your muscles. Yes. I think benefit from the most right then and there, and you get the most out of your building flexibility right after something like that. Your body's super warm. You can really get deep in a stretch. It doesn't, like, if I were to sit down and try to stretch right now, it'd hurt. Yeah. We trained a little bit. I got loose and trained a little bit. It would feel fucking awesome. Right. And it's weird because people want to stretch while it hurts and not afterwards, because like,
okay, I'm ready to go.
They're like, oh, we fucking great time. Slap it up. Grab my shit. Fucking out. I'm going to go sit in my car for 30 minutes and wonder why I'm sore when I get out my car and walk to my door. I'm like, oh, my fucking back hurts.
Right.
And some of it's a time issue, sometimes we get done at 9 and people want to go to bed, but 5-10 minutes afterwards, just do a couple poses, man. Just stretch some things out, and that's the one thing that nobody wants to do.
Dude, that's the key. It doesn't take that long to do a series of poses. 5 minutes, like, I'm not kidding. My smartwatch has helped me so much because I can hit 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and it's actually pretty long compared to what in my mind, where I'm like, 5 minutes, that's forever. Yep. No, it's 5 minutes, and you can get in a nice one. Say you did every minute you did a different pose. That's all you need. Yep. If you did that, guess what? It's better than nothing.
Nothing. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You're going to feel a little bit better about it the next day. You're going to feel things 100%. Aren't as stiff as they were when you get out of bed, which is the absolute worst for me. I wake up every morning, I'm like, who the fuck jumped me while I was sleeping? Look over at my wife, I'm like, what are we doing?
What'd you do?
You got a baseball bat over there? What the fuck did you do?
Yeah, right.
I can barely move.
Yeah.
And that's because I'm sitting here preaching it, and I've gotten a lot better about it, but I also need to get a lot better about it. Yeah. So I say that hoping that other people understand that too.
Yeah. I think they do. I think they're starting to. We had a girl named Amanda Hayes. She would teach a yoga class, because she was trying to build up her hours to be an instructor. But we would do yoga. I think we did it before the class on Wednesdays. This is my favorite class. I'd come in, we'd do yoga, and it was a little bit more martial art eccentric. Like she would focus on shoulders and she would focus on hips and stuff. And then we would do that, and then we'd roll. Those are the best classes ever. Yeah. And I think as the sport and then as the individuals that practice it continue to evolve, I think there's going to be some crossover in these areas. Yeah. You know, MMA's coming over, or they've been with us for quite a while. And, you know, you got like the judo guys and you got yoga and all those. They're just kind of starting to all connect in some way. You know, they're not so isolated anymore. Yeah. And it's probably because of the internet.
Just how big things have gotten and how much you realize how much you can benefit from crossing those things over. You could pick apart little things from all different areas, martial arts and things like that. And with these crossovers, like it's certain things are going to mesh well with others. And if you notice that, you'll get a lot of benefit out of that instead of just staying in your own pocket. But specifically, even with like the stretching and the yoga and the lifting and like at the proper times, that can all have their stretching for sure is always going to be beneficial, but there's times
just for life.
100%, man, 100%. Anytime I've ever hurt myself, gotten hurt.
Yeah.
The main idea was like, people are so quick to go to a chiropractor. I'm like, okay, you're going to go every day of the week because the shit's going to pop right back where it was. Yeah. It's not going to stay where you want it to be. Same thing with massages. They all have their benefit, but it's got to be consistent. It can't just one-off's not going to do anything.
Right.
The one thing that is for sure is if you build a routine stretching, you will get great benefit out of that, no matter what. It's just a timing issue, and the fact that you can walk to a chiropractor and the guy does it for you.
Yeah.
You know, you're not, you're sitting there waiting for a second, somebody pops you up and you're like, in your mind going, great, back to fucking doing what I was doing.
For how long?
A massage, same thing. You have somebody else doing it for you. When you're doing it for yourself, you got to be disciplined enough to not leave, find a spot on the mat, not bullshit in the locker room, stretch, and then do your shit, and then get out of there. But it's much easier having somebody else do it for you too.
Sure.
But it's only going to go so far.
Yeah.
Only so much a chiropractor and a masseuse can do for you.
Yeah. Both good. Well, I don't know about the chiropractors. I've never been, but the masseuse, like, dude, I think maybe once a month at least would be fucking awesome. It's just too expensive for me.
Exactly.
But I was going to say about the, it kind of makes me think about the old saying, like, 10 years and you'll be a black belt. And it's like, that's a little facetious. That's a little, that's not quite right. What if I went once a week for 10 years? Do I become a black belt? Maybe if you're a phenom, Are you watching YouTube? Are you, it's like, yes, that timeline's like a general timeline, but look at all these other things that you have to acquire or have to implement into your game to get to that point. Stretching afterwards, like there's another 30 minutes or 10 minutes, or there's a little bit of a pocket of a time that you have to engage with to become this black belt. And the one of the biggest things about getting injured of that magnitude, an injury of that magnitude for me was, it's like, well, if this is my path, like you're on your path, I'm on my path, everybody's got their path of jiu-jitsu, and I hope it leads somewhere good. It's like, this is just part of the path. It didn't feel like it, but like taking the time off, undergoing an injury of that magnitude, seeing people train, thinking about like, am I going to even keep training? Like this sucks. Coming out of that going, I'm going to train harder than I ever have. Like one of the things I did was I made this big sheet, and it had the 3 gyms around here, their address, the times are open, and the times I had open mat, and their mat fees. And I was like, okay, that's what's around here. I did your gym in Kansas City. It's like, I got buddies up there. Like if I'm in Kansas City, I want to know where to go. I want to know how much your mat fee is, because I'm going to hit it. And then I did in NWA, Northwest Arkansas. And I had this thing. I knew every day of the week, I knew where I could be. In the morning, in the evening, I knew where I could be somewhere if I wanted to. I got new gis, which I bought the wrong color, but I fixed it, whatever. And I just outlined, like we've been talking about, intentionality. I outlined my strategy moving forward. Like, this is how serious I'm going to take this. Even, and I don't think that would have happened without the reflection and the pain of undergoing this injury. And that's why I say it's a painful and costly list of lessons that I was given, but thankful for them. Would have preferred not to do that, but
depending on how, like we said, what your mind frame is and how you look at those things, you can either grow from it or you can let it change your life negatively forever. You can take something away that could have been super beneficial for you, but you got so scared and just didn't put the time in to learn the other pathways you could be doing or things you could be doing while you're hurt. And the other I mean, we're in a day and age now. And speaking of getting a black belt in 10 years, I think at a time, like, I think, you know, people would just say that. And most of the time there is around that time,
Sure.
you'll see a lot of people do get a black belt. But it depends on, like, the one thing I tell everybody, especially my newer students, because this is why I don't account attendance for stripes, or I don't account attendance for belts, and I don't do belt tests and things like that. I mean, you know, my biggest thing is, like, chase the knowledge, don't chase the belt. You chase 100%. The knowledge, you put your intentional time in. Being a 10-year black belt could turn into 5. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen Clean got his black belt in 4 years. He was in the gym every day for 10 hours.
Exactly.
But he was intentional with his time.
Right.
And he got his shit done. He did it the way he did it. His path was completely different than somebody else. Mm-hmm. This 10-year timeline, sure, we could throw that out there. But if we're looking at, if you show up and every 6 months, or every 6 weeks, whatever, just put some general time out there. Just because you showed up, you got a stripe. Mm-hmm. If you chase the fucking knowledge, the timeline's going to change compared to how much intention you have. And that still doesn't mean, like, oh, well, if I'm super intentional, I'm going to chase and get a black belt in 5 years. Mm-hmm. It could potentially happen. But if you're chasing knowledge, and you'll see it, even like if you watch, like today, there's the ADCC Trials Finals are today. Oh, wow. And you're going to see plenty of kids, purple belts, even some blue belts, submit high-level black belts. Wow. They're there to chase the fucking knowledge, man. Wow. They're there. And with the amount of knowledge that is out there now, with YouTube and the DVDs and the BJJ Fanatics and how many legitimate gyms are popping up, which I fucking love. Yeah, it's just you can really do this for real now. You can really chase this. You see these kids that are like, these 16-year-old kids that dropped out of school and train jiu-jitsu all the time. Of course they're gonna be fucking good. You know what I'm saying? Of course they're gonna be purple belts submitting black belts, man. They're fucking very intentional with their time. Yeah. They're already black belt level. Mm-hmm. They're not wearing it, but this guy over here that got a stripe once every 6 weeks because he wrote his name down on a fucking card and he's wearing a black belt. That kid over there put 5 hours a day in because he wanted to chase knowledge. Like, put your black belt up against that fucking purple belt over there. Let's see what that 10-year, you know, that, I'm gonna do my journey, they're gonna promote me because I showed up kind of shit. See how that works out. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And to chase the knowledge, man. Chase the knowledge, be intentional with your time. The timeline can change drastically. You shouldn't be chasing a belt, but you will realize you are black belt level a lot quicker than just being like, well, I showed up today. Yeah. I put my name on the card. Yeah. Be a black belt here in about 6 more years, 17 more days.
Putting my time,
just putting my fucking name on the card. Yeah. It is what it is, man.
That scares me,
it's me talking shit about it, but I don't know, man. I mean, things like that, they all have their purpose, maybe. But I know, I tell my students, chase, you know, I have anybody that asks. I've never had anybody ask me for a belt. I've had people like... put it in the air, but anybody that's ever put it in the air about like people walking to me and be like, hey, I submitted a purple belt today. And I can tell like they're like nudging me. I'm like, I don't fucking care. Right. What if the purple belt was taking it easy today? What if he was working something specific and he let you catch him? Exactly. I don't fucking care if you caught a purple belt today. That doesn't mean you're a fucking purple belt.
Yeah, good for you.
And it's things like, it's mostly people from other gyms that I feel that from. I think I've been very good about, and I don't really hold anybody back either. I've got guys that have excelled fairly quick. Like my wife is on a timeline right with the IBJJF, but she's there and she never started to get a belt. She's there putting her intentional work in. She's got great other women leaders in our association, and she wants to be there because she wants to get better, and it shows. Yes. Yeah. And she excels because of it. Yes. And they'll point the finger at her like, oh, that's my wife, or I'm like, no, man, she's fucking has nothing to do with me. Yeah. She's in here and I don't treat her I probably treat her worse than the other people because she is my wife. Yeah. And you know what I'm saying? I might hold a higher standard because of that, but she's on time to get a black belt in 5 years because of what the fucking work she's doing. Doesn't mean she will, but she's there chasing it, man. Right. So I'm not saying this like I'm holding everybody back, and I don't fucking hold anybody back. Right. It's what you want out of it. Yeah. If you're in my gym and you're a white belt for 4 years and been showing up every time, you haven't been intentional with your time. Yeah. And I've probably told you that. Yeah. I'm not going to sit there and let it go under the wire. Right. If I see that you're not making most of your time, I'm going to tell you. It's my job as being a coach, but it's two different ways of looking at it. And the 10-year black belt thing, I think, as time goes on, you know, it's not surprising now. You see, what's his name? Gio Martinez, he got a black belt in 2 years or some shit like that. 2.5 years. What? But he came from like a breakdancing background. He's a 10th planet guy. Okay. Super high level black belt. Yeah. Wins big titles at black belt. So what are you going to say? You know, you can't say anything about it.
Right. Like, you didn't earn that. Like,
guy put his time in. He definitely earned it.
That's awesome.
With the time he had. So
I would like to earn a black belt in 2 years.
How crazy would that be?
That would be nuts, dude.
Guys that do that, I don't imagine he spent much time anywhere else than the gym. Not at all. I don't imagine he had too many weekend parties he attended. I don't think he had too many girlfriends, you know,
No.
that probably didn't have kids.
Right. Probably never watched any movies that came out. No
and if
games.
you want to do that to yourself, then yeah, you too will probably get pretty high level at something. At anything you do that too. You spend that much amount of intentional time on, you're going to be high level. There's no certain timestamp that's going to tell you when you should get something. It's up to you 100%.
Right.
10 years is a general rule, and I see that most guys that do, you know, they're 3 day a week kind of guys. Yeah, that's a good look for those kind of guys. But that doesn't mean that the guy that comes in 6 times a week, training fucking 3 times a day, he's going to double that time. He's going to be there in no time. So, sitting there being intentional and chasing knowledge. So that's really how I care about.
Do you think that there is a correct amount of time you should spend in the gym just for like the normal, like if you don't want to become the greatest of our, like, but you want to be good at the sport, you want to be competent, maybe teach someday, like, I mean, is it 5 days a week or is it?
No, I don't think. I think again, if if you maximize your time while you're there, you know, I mean, it's hard to say because I don't want to discourage anybody that can't put in. 2 days is like anything less than 2 days is going to be pretty hard to excel over time. Yeah, you know, and especially if you like, depending on the class you're going to. If you went to a morning class and they're teaching something different than the night class, then you're not really putting intentional time on 2 different things. So that makes sense. Also, if you can spend a little time outside. And maybe we'll speak for the guys who can't. They don't have any time except for the 2 classes or 3 classes they have. I'd say 1, I don't think will do much for you. I think 2 is 3. I think 3 you could start. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? 3's a pretty good.
Seems like a good strong number.
You consistently make 3 classes a week. You're going to see some pretty consistent progress. 2, I mean, depending on who you are and how intense your time are. 1, I just don't. I think 1 time a week is going to be really hard. Yeah. Because the subjects, I mean, the way I teach, I try to stay on a certain subject or idea for 3 to 4 weeks at a time to tie things together. Yeah. And everybody does that. One day you're doing arm bars from guard. The next week you're doing fucking, you know, crazy leg locks. Yeah. So how are you going to
Well, it goes back to what you said. Yeah, it goes back to what you were talking about, connecting it to something that you know. So if you just come in and it's just another move, like, well, where does this go amongst anything else that I know? You have no idea.
You're going to get good at looking cool, getting beat up. That's what it's going to be. You're
going
to look like you have some sort of idea of what doing jiu-jitsu, but you're still going to get the shit beat out of you. So
right.
You'll look cool while you're doing it. That's about it. Maybe a nice ski and patch.
Right.
I don't think 1 day a week, and you know, I could be way wrong. You know, for me, that's maybe there's guys that made it work, but 2 or 3 should be minimum. I think if you're really going to try to
establish some sort
and nowadays, man, and one thing I've noticed with all these different gyms that pop up, they all have different schedules, so you can find the one that's like, I got work at 7 a.m. Well, maybe they have a 6 a.m. You know, some have 6 a.m. classes, some have 5 a.m. classes. Why? You know, I work, you know, middle of the day. Well, there's before classes, there's late night classes, there's classes or midday classes for every, you know, a lot of legitimate gyms have class times for almost every schedule. So you shouldn't have too much. If you're really trying to get good at jiu-jitsu, you really nowadays shouldn't have too much of an excuse on a timing issue. Right. I mean, depending on where you're at, really depending on not everywhere has really good jiu-jitsu just yet, but in any kind of bigger city or around that, you should be able to find something to where you can really put in that work. Or, you know, you can be that guy that you're in the middle of nowhere, and there's plenty of these guys that came up
to ask you
that it, like, just made it fucking work. They watched old DVDs and like I've known plenty of guys that got good that way, but they just they were just so intense about it. They were so like, I'm going to fucking make this work. I'm going to do it. And every chance I get to compete and try to really feel what it's like. And they travel 8 hours to compete or whatever, just because we're in fucking nowhere. Right. You know what I'm saying? And their hope, but you got to sacrifice a lot too to get good at that, the same side of that. But not to veer off too much. If you're in a place, if fortunate enough to be in a place to where there's different jiu-jitsu gyms and you can really check their schedule out, there should be some sort of schedule somewhere that you can benefit from, to where you can at least get 2 to 3 classes a week. For sure. And that will definitely make it easier for you to really understand jiu-jitsu.
I think so. And that's actually kind of what I experienced from going from white to blue was, you know, I came in, I'd say maybe once or twice a week at first. We went to the Krav Maga gym, and then I did a video for Dave. And so I had to be there every single day. Just because I did that for a week, it kind of, for whatever, shifted me into like, I'm just going to keep going at that pace. And then all of a sudden I get my blue belt, and I actually was caught off guard when he gave me the blue belt. It was actually, it probably took me like 3 days to like accept it, because I did not feel like a blue belt, dude. I was like, I don't know anything. And, you know, after I was able to reflect on it and be like, well, I respect Dave, and if Dave says that I am, then I am. And then I was pumped to be a blue belt, but at first I was caught off guard. Like I'm a fraud,
which is, I think, pretty understandable and natural for anybody, especially going in the blue belt, maybe even the purple belt. You'll see a lot of people get caught off guard because I don't think you really, and in a good system, you shouldn't have to question it, but it's still going to feel that way no matter what. And I think it's purely because you don't really get to see your progress like your instructor does. You know, they're on the outside of it looking in. They have a different perspective. They see things that you've been putting time in, and they watch you hit it. You may not really realize that you're hitting it, or how you got there, or how technical you were to get there compared to where you were working on something like that, if that makes sense. You don't always, as in your own mind, and you could even be way more harsh on yourself because it wasn't good enough, but your instructor was probably great. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to chase some sort of perfection, and you probably don't even notice how good you're getting. And especially when you accelerate, like when you go from a couple of times to shit, you're there all the time. Like you're obviously going to get your technique and you're just going to get better at accelerated pace, obviously, because you're in there more, especially if you're being intentional with your time, and you may not even notice that. You're just there. You were there for a short period of time. You started adding more into it, not really changing that. You're actually picking things up a little bit quicker because you're more intentional with your time. And I've known, tons of people, even myself. When I got it, I'm like, I don't fucking know what I did to get this. I still feel like shit, especially a blue belt, because you're still in that weird phase to where, like, I mean, you could still have good white belts beating your ass. You know what I'm saying? And they're the lowest belts you can have. You could be at a point that maybe you're getting some purple belts, doing things like that. But yeah, man, blue belt's a weird one. And you make a big transition in the blue belt before purple belt. You go from like, I don't feel like I know shit to like, okay, maybe. And then you get a purple belt, like, I must know something, because purple belt's pretty fucking serious.
Right.
I still think so anyways. It may not. Nowadays that there's black belts everywhere, and there's multiple black belts in a gym. Purple belt might not be that serious, but to me it's always like, that's a baby black belt. Yeah. That's okay. You made it to purple belt, you should make it to black belt. Yeah. You're on the right path now.
You're strong.
You've dialed in enough to understand how to get the black belt now.
I've rolled with plenty of purple belts. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, and they should have a pretty good. If you're wearing a purple belt, it's a professional belt. You should have a pretty good idea of how to, at least on the fundamental level, a pretty good idea of how to control somebody, control yourself, certain techniques. There should be some areas that you're pretty sharp in. Maybe not the best, but you're pretty sharp in. And you're advancing things a little bit quicker. You're advancing connections and advancing multiple techniques a little bit quicker, and your offense is a little more cleaner, and your path, like everything's a little bit more put together. If that makes sense. Right. To which at that point, you can realize you can put anything together. Right. And that kind of accelerates that as well. Yes. What you're doing in certain pockets, you can now do anywhere. Yeah. And that's really where that learning curve changes, and you're really understanding what it's going to take to get to that higher level is when you get to purple belt, I think. So it should still mean something. Yeah. It does to me.
For sure. Yeah. The other thing I always I'd always hide under the idea of a white belt. Like, oh, I don't know that. Like, I'll learn that later. And then I got the blue belt. I'm like, I can't do that anymore. Yeah. Like, I'm a little bit higher in this gym, and new people are coming in. Yeah. And they're going to look at me and like, who's the long haired bearded? Like, I got to be able to be like, oh, in this, I don't know exactly, but when I'm here, and then show them a little bit,
You got to take things that you would probably blew off a little bit more serious.
I just didn't pick up on the responsibility of it, because I was a white belt. Like, it's not my gym. I don't know what the fuck's going on. But then as you start to get the color in your belt, you're like, well, I must know. I need to know something. I need to be able to communicate it too. I'm sure. Oh, I was going to say the other thing about black belts that I envy is that everybody, like, every time a black belt rolls with any colored belt from white to black, they get the best of that person.
Oh yeah, dude.
And dude, like, I'm jealous of that, because that makes you guys that much better. Like, on a fucking compounding interest level, to where, like, every time I roll with a black belt, I try the best, because it's a black belt. Like, if you're a real black belt, you should stop that. And of course they do. Yep. And I just think that's so cool, because that is exponential growth.
It is
every damn time.
I'm gonna tell you this: enjoy blue belt. Blue belt was fucking fun. Blue belt and purple belt were so much fun because of, like, I don't mind it, man. I mean, black belt's great, and you are right. You're 100% correct, man. I'll watch and I'll catch it, and they might not even know I'm noticing it, but I know somebody that's going to go with me next, and they're training with somebody, and they're taking it easy. So they want to beat my ass. They want to try to, they're conserving their energy. They want to fucking take it out on me. Yeah. And that's how it is, and I love it. I don't want any other way, but I remember being on the other side of that and training with guys that didn't want to accept that. And I was a blue belt and a purple belt, and doing well with good black belts, you know. And now that I'm here, I'm like, well, they're doing it to me now. So I better tighten my shit up. Right. You got these hungry purple belts, man. Like I said, things have changed. There's a lot more knowledge now. It's easier to get better quicker. So you have to, as a black belt, and you want to stay relevant with technique, you got to stay on top of it. You don't have to be great at everything, but you got to understand where jiu-jitsu is going. You got to evolve with the times. I think if you're going to have a student base that is up to par with how things are evolving, you have to do it too, because you're ultimately in the lead. Right. You kind of nurture that, and you have to be aware of those things, and you got to be willing to train with those guys, and you got to be willing to put in work with your students to make sure they're getting the right work. And also, you got students that are getting better, like my brown belts, man. Jeez, dude. And which is what I want. I want, if you're going to be a brown belt with me, you got to be putting me in danger. You got it's got to be, I got to feel, it shouldn't feel the same way as I was training with you as a blue belt. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that could be my fault because I didn't show you, or wasn't more intentional with stuff. But I'm not gonna. If I don't think you get the brown belt, man, and all there's one of my girl brown belts who was a Pan American champion at purple belt. We were training the other day on Thursday night, and I'm very technical with her because I try to give her a look. I think she's a lightweight, which in jiu-jitsu is fairly way light to me. You know, I probably got 60 pounds on her. So I try to give her a look of all these so it tightens my game up because I have to be very technical with her. Because she's going to get nothing out of me fucking pushing her around. Although she's tough enough to take it because she really didn't benefit. She's getting a lot of women to train with her now, but at the beginning, she was only training with us. Yeah. We're all getting ready for competition. So she fucking threw herself in the fire, and she accepted the fact that some guys are going to go pretty fucking hard.
Right. And just,
So, and she grew a lot from that, but now it's like, okay, cool. She's got that in her. I need to be able to make it to where it's very the technique that she's going to see out there is just insane, which makes me learn it a little bit better so I can show it to her a little bit better and give her better looks. But on the outside of that, you're at a certain level now that you can pick up on things that you're going to pick up on so much stuff just a little bit quicker that maybe I didn't even show you. So another hit me with stuff that I know they didn't learn from me. They learned it from somewhere else, and they're fucking applying it, from the work they put in, they're applying it right away. And she timed one of my guard pulls twice and was able to like score 2 points off of it. And afterwards, I had to ask her, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Yeah. She's my brown belt, She hit me twice with something. I'm like, okay, you're doing something good here. Right. So I'm doing something wrong. You're going to have to show me this.
That's good. That's good on your part, dude.
I love having that I love having the level of one of my other brown belts, Jared, who's super good at footlocks. And he'll catch me in some heel hooks here and there. And he'll really up my level because you should, like I said, if I'm creating a place to where you can learn all of jiu-jitsu and not just one style, I'm eventually going to run into things that I didn't do as well that they decided to excel at on their own time. They were very intentional on their own time outside of the drills that we were doing. When they went and did live training, all I did was footlock. So of course he got better at it. Right. So I remember we're getting into a battle and he's upside down and got me in some fucking, I don't even know what they're called, some Japanese name, and I'm getting heel hooked. I understand him, but I'm not going to learn the names, man. I'm just against fucking Arsher Garammer. I don't fucking know what that is. I know what it looks like. I'm not going to say
Okay,
it.
John Donaher.
Yeah, it's like things like that. People ask me all the time, like, what a certain name of a move. I'm like, fuck, I don't know what it is. I can do it, but I'm not a black belt in names. Yeah, it's not an armbar. Kimura, cool, got those. But it's like some specific, like, which I know what this one is, but like a Tariqa Plata, who's by a guy named Tarek, who does an omoplata a certain way. Can you do the Tariqa Plata? I'm like, what the fuck is that? An omoplata? I don't know. Yeah, right. So I'm not great at names, but just saying that because all the different honey hole 411, all that shit. I'm like, who cares? You can do it right. Dude. It's all going to come up, and then people get good at something. Like how many different guillotines are named Hindertine or Combsatine, or like you got good at a guillotine. A guillotine, so you just put your fucking name on it. You know what I'm saying? Right, yeah, right. So I'm like, it's no different than the way he's doing it. Yeah. It's the fucking same thing. Yep. You might have a little small detail, and he's like, well, that detail is named the Hindertine. Which, whatever.
This is what makes it.
You're good at a guillotine. Great. You don't have to fucking put your name on it. But just me talking shit about names. As far as like in the room with my brown belts, that's exactly what I should feel. Danger. I should be in danger at a certain point, or I should feel, especially in positions like that where they're learning their own things, like I'm learning from them at that point. They're learning just as much from me. I'm learning just as much from them as they are from me. Yeah. Which I love because that's exactly what I want in my own room. That goes back to the point I kind of said earlier, to where I want to have enough knowledge everywhere to be able to kind of put everybody on a path that wasn't quite like my closed or half guard. Yeah. They're good at open guard because eventually, if they take it right, at a certain time, I'm going to go back and they're going to be fucking me up with it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They actually understood it. They took their time. They put the same amount of work into that guard that I did in my closed guard. And now I got problems. And it's in my room. And it's in a purple belt. You know what I'm saying? It's not even a black belt. It's a fucking good purple belt that's triangling me from an open guard because I don't understand how to break a grip. Because he really dove in. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And I love it. It's the only, I'm not afraid to getting tapped by anybody, especially my students. Yeah. I'll get tapped by my students quite a bit, but that's because I'm willing to train with them and I'm willing to fucking go to those. I could sit there and hold down anybody for 5 minutes. Neither of us are going to get good. Yeah. I will exchange with them and I'm going to lose some exchanges. If they're doing the work, I'm going to lose some things. And I love it because it makes me better. So. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people might see that as like a bad leader or something, you know, like, oh, I tapped him. I tapped our teacher or whatever. Yeah. But I just think that's stupid thinking, you know? Yeah. Just like you said, was that purple belt going slow on you? Maybe he was just focusing on defense today. You know what I mean? You just never know.
When you're in the room, man, you can't really account for anything in the room, man. I've seen guys on the backside of it, like I said about myself earlier, where I'm like, I'm probably better in the room than I am competition. Yeah. There's other sides of that. You see guys that are trash in the room, you go compete against him, it's a different fucking dude. Yeah. He rises to the occasion. He doesn't give a shit about you. You don't care what the fuck you've done. The lights are on. He's going to crush you. Yeah. In the room, he's fucking around. Yeah. You beat him up in the room. That's a great quality to have as well. And you just can't really base too much off of what's going on in the room. But what can happen is you can feel your students getting better and you choose not to train with as much because you're like, oh, they're going to get me now. Right. And I can't. They're not going to look at me the same if they're submitting me. Yeah. What the fuck? They're going to respect you even more because you're in there battling with them, dude.
That's exactly what I felt listening to your story. It's like, man, that would be... And Dave does do that. He trains with us all the time, so I'm not saying he doesn't do that. But just to think about that happening to you and then like, what did you do? Like, you're still learning. Like, that is amazing. Yeah. That's inspirational to a blue belt, you know? Like, I can just continue to learn forever. Exactly. And it's not like no more tapping me. If you're got a lower belt color, you can't tap me. It's like, no, it's all a learning process.
And that's
turn it on, we turn it off.
That's where chasing knowledge and not chasing belts is everything. Yeah, you chase the belt, you get the black belt. For every black belt that trains with the students, there's 100 that made it the black belt. They teach their class, they walk off, fucking got their hands on the belt the whole time. Yeah. Only train with people they know they can beat up in the room. They got plenty of students that can whip their ass because they're not keeping themselves sharp. They don't train with their students because they know they're going to get fucking beat up. Yeah. And they know that they probably haven't been putting in enough work at that to where it's like, at a certain point, probably won't even be competitive. You know what I'm saying? Sure. And they're afraid to get beat up by their students, which the way I really feel, whether it happens or not, is anybody that gets white to black or gets a black belt from me should be really good at something that I'm not, for one. And secondly, I should hope that they're better than me. I should be giving them something that's... I don't want it to end like, if the level ends with me and it just keeps going down from there, where eventually the lineage turns to shit. It should always be better than what you had. You should always be searching to give your students the most. And a lot of people are comfortable with just doing enough and opening the doors and being there and teaching the class and not really throwing down with their students. And it doesn't mean you have to train with them all the time, but man, get out there and lose to your students. It's okay. It's fucking cool. Try some new shit, get submitted by your students, and be happy about it because you've got fucking good students that can submit you. Instead of being mad about it because you got subbed by your student. You're fucking punching the mat and mad that one of your purple belts tapped you. I'm like, okay, well, the fuck ever, man. Right. Don't ever train with them again. Don't get better.
Yeah. There might be a deeper problem going on there.
Yeah, that's 100%, dude. I think that's changed a lot nowadays, but in the old days, it's like, well, there's some gyms I've been to where you couldn't even ask a number belt to roll. They had to ask you. And I've always thought that was... And I'll get guys that come in and cross-train from gyms like that, either come in from out of town and they'll stand at the edge of the mat and wait for me to call them on. I'm like, we're fucking training. You can stand there and wait for me to call you on all day and you're going to stand there all day. Just fucking walk on the mat, come do jiu-jitsu. And then they'll be sitting there on the side and they'll like try to eyeball me to make me see if I want to ask them. I'm like... If I don't have a partner, just come train, dude. Nothing's wrong with coming to ask me to train. It doesn't matter what belt it is. I'm here to train too. Right. I might be the one owning the gym and teaching it, but I want to train. I own this gym and teach it because I fucking love it. I want to train too. I'm not going to fucking duck anybody because they're, or not duck. I wouldn't say that. I'm not going to penalize anybody because I'm a higher belt to them and they came and asked me, because that's an old school way of thinking. Like, you can't ask, and that's a super old school way of thinking. And I'm glad the more jiu-jitsu progresses that shit is changing. There's a lot of old school ways. I'm like, you got to wait for the black belt to call you on. You got to shake every fucking black belt's hand or every upper belt's hand on the mat, which can be pretty tough when you're at a fucking Ontos and there's 30 black belts on the mat. And you're just trying to go get your shit on, but you're like, I got to warm up, dude. I'm fucking shaking hands with everybody because it says it on the wall. The coach said we had to do it, which I want that respect. You should respect everybody on the mat, but there's different ways to go about it. And there's also like, there can be some overreach with respect when it's like, you can't ask me, I'm a fucking black belt. Yeah. Stupid.
It gets a little cultish at that point, And that turns me off big time. It's part of that martial arts thing, you know, the bowing and all that, which I like. I always bow before I go on the mat. It's a nice little ritual. It's not like overly, you know, it's not so much like shaking every black belt's hand, but it gives me, it lets me switch on and off, you know, like I am.
There should be some sort of respect for the martial art.
Sure, yeah. But when they take it to that extreme of like, I am sensei, you know, and I have not been around that. Yeah. I've never been to a gym that's like that, but I've heard stories of it, plenty of stories from bigger gyms.
Honestly, I don't think you would really run into too many of those in the Midwest. I think it's definitely a different culture here in the Midwest. Once you get on the coast and you get more of, you know, I don't know the best way to put it, like the old school Brazilians that come up because they're a lot, you know, in California. Yeah. They want to be by the beaches. That's where they were raised. Yeah. Get little Brazils everywhere. And maybe it's not even the Brazilians. I shouldn't even say it that way. But I feel like in the Midwest, we were so far behind at a certain point, we didn't give a shit about all the other stuff. We just wanted to work.
100%.
It wasn't about bowing in, bowing out, shaking hands. It's like, if this guy's good, I'm training with him because I need to get good too. Because if I'm going to go compete against those guys over there on the coast, I need to fucking know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have that much opportunity. We didn't have a selection.
Yeah.
Like you said, there was a frozen mat with a flame throwing heater, and that's all you had.
And if you didn't want that, we could have did it on the grass. That's all we had.
Yeah, that's all you had. And that's kind of like with Dave. Like that's all I had. I had that and the Rise and maybe one other at the time that was maybe kind of formulating. Dave was the best choice at the back of a Krav Maga gym, you know. Yeah. And that's all I had. So it was like, whatever you want to do, that's what I'm doing. Because it's this or it's YouTube.
Yeah.
And then YouTube ain't working out too good for me right now because YouTube won't roll with me.
Exactly.
So
much. I mean, when you have a good idea of how jiu-jitsu works, you can learn a lot from that when you understand certain reasons why sweeps work, because a lot of things are tied together on certain concepts and ideas. But yeah, you got lucky there, you know, going into a gym like Dave's, and because not everybody gets that first experience at a gym like that.
No doubt.
With a guy like Dave, and you know how many people could be out there right now that went to one gym, like you said earlier, had that one experience, never gave it another shot.
Totally unfortunate, yeah.
And they could have had, you know, if they just would have chose a different spot, had the best experience in the world. To which is another reason why I'm so happy to see multiple gyms opening up in Kansas City. I love it. I don't care where you're at.
Yeah.
If my place isn't for you, but you want to learn jiu-jitsu, I want you to have a place to go.
Yeah.
There's going to be a place for you.
Yeah.
And you're learning jiu-jitsu, that's cool with me. If it's not with me, that's cool. Yeah. As long as you can find somebody that works for you, do it, man. I don't want to take anybody's experience and ruin all of jiu-jitsu for them. Maybe my style or how I was, it just wasn't for them, and I don't want them to think that's every gym.
Right.
So I'm happy that they can look up other gyms and be like, well, I'll just go try this one out, and it fits for them. And I've had that happen. I've seen people down the road, and they fit in there, and I'm like, cool, great to see. I'm glad you're still fucking in.
You're just happy they're training.
Cool, yeah. You found a fit for you. Great. I'm glad you're doing it. That's it.
Man, I love that. That's such a good mentality.
It's something that I think I was raised in such a different mentality that it kind of made me search for that more. Yeah. It kind of turned me off onto all the other very, very formal stuff to make me almost very, very informal. Almost to the point where I'll bow in the class, but I won't bow in every class. I don't even really make people bow to the mat. I probably should. That's one that's like, there's certain things that will, like in most gyms, you're going to have to do, and I don't want my students to disrespect somebody else. Sure. So there's certain things that I do want them to understand, and I do make them aware when they're going to cross train somewhere else. I'm like, just go in there with our gym is not their gym, and you can't walk in the same. You got to respect whatever rules they have. If they do have that rule to where you can't ask, you got to respect it. Yeah. You know, not everybody's the same. And me being on the more informal side, my students are probably a little bit more at risk in running into somebody that's way more formal and going to get in trouble because they didn't fucking bow to the mat, or they walked up and asked the black belt to train. They're like, whoa, bro, did you read the fucking sign on the wall?
Is it usually on the wall?
The one I was at, it was in the locker room.
Okay.
They had a list of 10 things you could not be fucking doing. You can't be doing this, can't be doing that. And it was at that one. It might not be on the wall, but usually
I'll check the walls when I go.
Usually I have a set list on mine, but mine are pretty be on time.
I guess Dave has.
Be intentional. Keep your shit clean. Yeah. Trim your nails.
Yeah, that's what Dave's got.
Things like that. That's like general rules for like health and safety reasons, things like that, but not like battle the mat, shake every hand, shit like that. Some of them do have those.
Do 10 Hail Marys.
Yeah, something fucking crazy, man. It's just, there's some wild formalities in jiu-jitsu and martial arts. I mean, a lot of martial arts, most martial arts are like that, are very, very formal.
I think it comes, ranges back from Japan, right? Because Japanese folks are so disciplined, or at least the ones that were training martial arts, that whole thing. maybe because they were using fucking swords at
Yeah.
one point, you know?
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's
dude.
like, we got to be so intentional, because if we're not, we're dead.
Times have maybe it'll help you, and it's like, hopefully if you're doing some sort of martial art and you ever run into a case to where you have to use it like that, I'm glad you had it, but we ain't on the same frame that they were on, what they were learning it for.
Right.
We're just, most of us just trying to have a
They
good
were
time
ready for
learning
war,
a
dude.
new life skill. They were using it for war.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit more formal for that, but yeah, to keep that same, like, there's craziness, which they a lot of it has its place, but I think I just got burnt out on a lot of it. All I care about is, you want to be there, show up on time, you put your work in, you can bow to the wall. I don't care, bow to the door on the way out, as long as you did the work. Bow to your car before you get in it.
I like bowing to the mat just because it separates my worlds.
Yeah.
It initiates, like, this is where I am. It gives me that split second of, here I am, and this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I like to do that too, where I'm done. You know, like, I put the work in and goodbye, thank you. You know.
Yeah.
And I like to keep things separate, especially like when I sit down to write. You know, it's like, okay, I'm not here to fucking click through Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm here to click on this keyboard and write, and here's where my mind needs to be. So I do this little thing, boom, then I'm ready to go, you know?
And I think that definitely really has its place. Like, if you're a person that needs to really hyper focus on that moment and what you're doing, and you got little things that will click you in that moment, that's awesome. That's great. And I think all those things really do have their place, and that's what works for you. That's fucking awesome. And if I have, maybe I don't say it, but if people do it, I'm not going to tell them not to do it. That's the thing. Yeah. I'm not going to tell them, unless it's something crazy shit like the guy that stands there and eyeballs me but won't ask me. I'm like, just say something, bro.
Right.
You know, maybe I'm not even noticing you're there, and you missed out how many rounds with me because you did not ask me.
Right.
So I'm like, those ones, I'm like, all right. But if somebody bows and I didn't say to do it, I'm like, hey, don't bow at my mat. I'm informal here.
Right.
Fuck formal jiu-jitsu.
We are very informal.
Do not bow at my mat.
We are so informal. We are formal.
Don't shake anybody's hand.
Right.
Nah.
It goes back to that extreme, you know?
It can get crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little things like that I think are awesome. I think they have their place.
Yeah, for sure. What was it like? We talked about it a little bit, but what was it like working with that mind or mentality coach? Like, was it face to face?
Yes.
Okay.
So I did almost all of them. I think every one of them. I would go at his time. At that time, it was just at his house. He was still up and running. And there's a guy that fights in the UFC right now that was on his way up, and I got a hold of him because he was using them. And I was like, hey, man, what's the value in this? Like, you really getting some out of this? And he's like, it's changing everything. And he eventually made it to the UFC. And I think it's a lot of it had to do with changing his mind frame and how he was looking at things in different perspectives. And it's a consistent work in progress. It's not you go in there, you do a couple classes with them, all of a sudden you're changed.
Yeah.
There's no real hypnosis to it. There's no but he helped me get to the root of why I felt that way, dissect it, and then every time I would have a tournament or anytime I would have something happening in training or something like that, he would ask me my initial thoughts of going out there and what was happening and what my focuses were. And he was able to rearrange things that I looked at very negatively and make them some sort of positive. He changed every mind frame, and he made me, when I would say something out loud, I would write it down, and he would make me see where the negativity was and the little certain things I was saying to myself, how I was thinking, how I was approaching training, how I was approaching tournaments and all this stuff. And all of it, nothing in the training really changed besides my mentality. And when I was showing up to tournaments and really focusing on, I think the main thing was focusing on what I could control and letting go of everything I couldn't. And you'll hear a lot of people talk about that now.
Yeah.
And some people say it, maybe they don't even really know what that means, but I was focusing on everything else when I get to a tournament. Like, what team is this guy on?
Oh, I see.
All this stuff I couldn't control.
What's his lineage?
Yeah, who is it? Like, what has he done? All this stuff. This shit that I'm going to face him no matter what. Who the fuck?
A lot of energy.
You're not facing his past titles. You're facing the guy, and there's, I would think about what he wanted to do. And when he got there, and I would study film and be like, he's good at this. And then I would anticipate it out there, and I would get stuck in these positions because I was just so worried about what they were going to do and not worried about what I was going to do and what I was good at, and focusing on what I needed to be doing and where I needed to be and focusing on my strengths and all this stuff. And that really built confidence in me when I would just really just think about the shit I could control. And then I started controlling them. That was the thing, controlling the things that that can build confidence, your preparation, your diet, things like that, just being disciplined on certain things and focusing on that and hyper focusing on that, and less about who's going to be at this tournament, who am I going to face, where do they train, what do they want. I didn't get a good whatever. I didn't get good training up to this. He trained at this. I got like all this shit that when you get there, when you decide to show up, none of that fucking matters.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If it's beforehand and something comes up and you didn't get proper training, you don't feel like you're ready and you back out of it, you chose to back out. But if you show up in that moment and you push through to that, that can't be an excuse. Because that's all an excuse. Well, he gets to train with this guy. He gets to fucking do this. I didn't get to prepare like this and all that shit. When you show up and you're out there, whether you win or lose, there is no excuse. It's only what you've done before that, focusing on what you can control, how you prepared, how you handle your losses, how you handle your wins. If you're out there intentional with the match and you're not like, for the longest time, I was like, I'm pretty good everywhere. I'll just wherever it goes is wherever it goes. And at blue belt, I toughed through a lot of things.
Sure.
At purple belt, it happened a little bit less. Brown belt didn't happen at all. And I was competing against the best guys. You have to know where you want to be.
Whoa.
You want to be aware. I'm kind of aware of what they're good at, but I'm not so focused on what they're good at because I care more about what I'm good at and where I want to be.
Right.
And that's where the game is played, is me trying to get to my spots. I know I can score on these best guys. When all I was really doing was knowing they were there and anticipating it, but I wasn't pulling the trigger. They're going to get there. And then you're looking like, oh shit, he's pretty good at this. And then I'm up in the fucking air. I'm like, oh, that's right, he is good at this.
Right.
And now it's too late because I'm just on my fucking back. I'm worrying about the sweep he just did. He's on my back choking me. I'm like, well, maybe if I would have went out there with an actual game plan, focused on my first 30 seconds, places where I wanted to be, the grip exchanges, my home bases, if things are getting out of line, how can I get it back to where it's comfortable for me? Things like that, and focusing on those in the training room and building those up. And I started doing that, and there's so much. I have this little book. I need to go back and look at it, but I wrote down everything when I was there, and I've hidden it away because I want to go back in time and kind of see how much I really stuck to it. Yeah. I haven't looked at it yet, but I've got a fucking... It's a gym. There's so much knowledge in that thing that guy gave me. But it wasn't just about sport. It's about mindset and everything. He broke down things I wasn't even thinking about in different parts of my life that were affecting my mindset going into things like that. Just the mental game itself. And people are like, 90% of it. Man, it's pretty fucking close.
Wow.
You can do all the work in the world, and if you don't think you're going to win, you're not.
Yeah. Wow.
You can be in there doing all these different reps. You can be the best at anything in the world, but when it's time to apply it and you don't believe you can, what the fuck does that mean? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have some guy that's could have done half the shit you did, but he cares. He fucking wants to win. Yeah. He was there with a game plan and he got after it. And that's, so there's just so much to it, but it's also something that you can't just like, okay, I had success with it back then. You can I've fallen back as going in the black belt to where like I didn't stay on these reps or really put these, I don't know if you want to say mantras or we're focusing on myself too much. Right. And I would let it slide and I would get caught because of it. Something would come up but I mean, at the end of the day, there's no like, that definitely helped out no matter whether it did or didn't. I just chose not to I see too many people make excuses about these things and they turn these things that they could have been focusing on, all these different things in preparation they could have been focusing on, and then they go out there and they're like, well, that guy's from this gym, and it doesn't fucking matter.
Well, it's an incredible amount waste of energy. Yeah. Right? It's like you can focus on all that bullshit, and you're wasting energy, like 100%. Valuable energy that you could be redirecting towards the positive, whether that's training harder, like physical training, or preparing your mindset even more, or my God, just enjoying life, and just being with your wife, and you have kids. So being with your family, and rather than being like, where do you train at? You're just blasting energy out into bullshit. Yeah. And if you like, I always like to the word redirect, like redirect that, like you're spending it, put it in the seed right here that will grow into something positive and something productive. Yep. Yeah, that's amazing.
Which is exactly what it is. All that negative focus, you can 100% redirect that and turn that into a positive focus. And that's why I think you'll see sometimes, I'll try to think of a good example. You'll see somebody like about to walk into a big fight or something, and you see them wording something. They're like talking, they're saying something. And most of the time what they're doing is everybody's going to have doubts. No matter what, dude. Everybody's going to, especially MMA, but jiu-jitsu, anything like that, where it's like a one-on-one, something that's like you put a lot of time in. The doubts are going to creep. Your mind's going to be your own worst enemy. So it's good to have like, you'll see people talking to themselves because doubt's creeping in and they're fucking reinforcing that doubt with like, no, I am ready for this. I did do this. This is who I am. Things that like own little mantras to like, even until the moment you're standing in front of the guy, you're going to have something in there. And if you allow it to creep in your mind and you don't do anything about it, it'll take over.
It'll fester, dude.
Like you aren't ready. Like your mind is going to sit until you aren't ready for it. This guy's better than you. He's done this. He's done that. And you're going to sit there and be like, well, I guess you're right. Yeah. If you don't do anything about it, if that's what it's going to be, and you're like, no, I've done this. I know I've prepared. I know I did the right things. I know I am who I am. I know that my game is sharp, and I'm going to fucking get there, and we're going to find out. You know what I'm saying? And that's where, when you go in there with confidence like that, and you're able to pull the trigger, and you're still going to lose at times. But when you lose, when you gave it your all, when they say this, you win or learn kind of shit, there's something to it. You win and lose. You learn both ways. You know, fucking, oh, you win. Like, that's coach. It's bullshit, man. You see a kid get off the mat. It's like, well, you win some, you learn some. Like, why the fuck did he learn? Let's talk about that. You just go, oh, it's okay, buddy. Like, it is okay. You're going to lose, but you lost.
Yeah.
That's the fucking reality of it. You lost, dude. It's win or loses. You learn both ways.
Right.
But if you go in there and you go in there with a good intentional mindset of trying to get to your game and really trying to apply that, and you lose to somebody that's better than you, you will get better because of it. That's where you win or learn. You can take something from that because you gave it a shot and it failed, just the same in the room. You take shots in the room and it fails, you learn from it. It's the same out there. But if you never put yourself in a position to take that shot because you're too afraid of what's going to happen, or afraid of the result, or afraid of what people think, and afraid of all this bullshit that you can't control, you're never going to get better. And that's where I was at end of purple belt, going in a brown belt, where I was really talking about, you know, when I went on that streak, it was just, I just didn't pull the trigger, and I'd make it, you know, certain excuses for things, and I finally just fucking nutted up about it, and like, if I'm gonna do this, there's no excuse. If I win or I lose, it's on me. There's absolutely, if I had an injury and I chose to do it, that injury don't matter at that point. You know what I'm saying? So a perfect example of that, even though I had won the match a couple weeks ago, and I haven't said this to anybody, and the reason I didn't say this is because I didn't want anybody to have an excuse for me. I got the flu 3 days beforehand. I couldn't eat. 2 hours before the match, I snuck into a bathroom downstairs so I could puke. Nobody could hear me. I didn't tell anybody. My wife knew. Like my mom knew, stuff like that. But I was like, I'm not telling anybody else, because if I shit the bed out there, well, you had the flu. I didn't want to hear that shit. I want to hear how I could have won the match. I want to hear stuff that's gonna help me later on. Not if I accepted to show up, no matter what, with that flu. No matter, I decided to show up. I'm gonna accept the results how they are, and if there can't be an excuse because of it. And I had all kinds of stuff, man, all kinds of, when I say it now, like, who knows what he had going on? You know what I'm saying? Everybody has their shit. But if you allow that to be an excuse on why you lost, you're never going to get better. The moment you accept that you're going to step out there and do the damn thing, you can't excuse anything that happened before that. If I you know, whatever happened and it was the flu, that's not, I chose to do it. It is what it fucking is. I can't blame anything else on whether that I wasn't good enough to get it done. How am I going to make that? How am I going to change that for the next time? Compared to, next time I won't be like that because I had the flu. Next time I won't be like that because I had a bad day. You know what I'm saying? It's bullshit. It's bullshit, and people will escape with that all the time. And some people never come to terms with that shit, and you can feel that energy. And I'm just like, man, I can't be around people like that. The first thing I hear is an excuse. I got to fucking walk off. I can't. It's bad for my mind. I don't want to be around that shit.
Exactly.
It's own up, man. And that's a bigger part of that mentality too, because who knows how many times in those terrible streaks that I had that I was like, well, my coach isn't here, which I did say that to him. And one thing Clean did do, because I brought that up to him, like, well, how am I supposed to win when you're not around, and I don't have this and I don't have that and all this bullshit? And he called me one day, and he let me have it, but it was very, he let me have it a lot of times, and it did nothing for me. He was just being a dick. But this one time in particular, it was about me making excuses, and he gave me all these different examples of people that were able to do what I'm looking to do with not near the stuff I had to get ready, not near a gym or other training partners. They were doing shit all by themselves with like almost nothing, and doing better than I was doing, because they chose to fucking figure it out and not make excuses about it, not rely on like anything else, but learning from those experiences and finding a way to get better using what you have. And you can do that if you just understand, like, you got to take the excuses out of it, man. You're not going to get great at anything making excuses for why you weren't good enough in certain areas. You're never going to get past that point. You're always going to find a way out of that, of getting better because of that. And you're going to have, and a lot of those people have people around them that will make it for them. Well, my coach, your family, they'll just accept it. Like, you have to be, you know, there is something to that. You are who you hang around. And if you have yes men around you, cool. I mean, you're not going to be good at anything. You have people fucking,
it's a false sense of reality.
Think you're somebody special, but you're fucking nobody, man. You tricked whoever you're around to think whatever you're doing is okay. And I'd rather people, you know, give it to me straight right off the get, man. That's why I'm linked up with the team I'm on. They give it to me straight. That's why I'm surrounded by the people I'm surrounded by. Even my wife, everything, man. Like, no, there's no, you got to be around people that are going to raise you up. You're the highest one in your group, and you got all these people making excuses for you. It's fucking
not good.
Cheap, dude. I don't know. Good. And you see it a lot, man, and it is what it is, but I mean, they're gonna think I can't control it, so fuck it. They can do that shit. I'll do my thing. I can't. That's a bigger part that I've learned over the years. Like I was saying earlier, like I can get into things, and you know, things could take a turn. I could start talking about things. Well, I couldn't control that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to fucking talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
It happened. There's nothing I can do about it. If there was something I could have done about it then, I would have done it.
Right.
I can't. There's nothing I can do about it. You got to fucking move on. You got to
Right.
focus on the things you can't control now.
Yeah.
And that mental coach really honed that in a great way. Just the way they hear what you're saying. Guys like that really know what they're doing can hear and rearrange things for you and just point out where you're not even realizing how bad you're being on yourself, how negative you are toward yourself, and how you look at things and all this stuff. And I would just speak to him, and he would just kind of take it in, and he'd like stop me, and he's like, let's talk about what you just said, things like that, and how these different just changed the way I approached, for sure, how I thought about things, but it in turn changed everything. I thought just my jiu-jitsu was going to get better. My relationships got better. My jiu-jitsu teaching got better. Like the way I was able to, it could be anything. It just created a different pathway for my thoughts to go. Where they were stuck over on this negative side, and redirecting them and making them work for you. Yeah. Because negative shit's going to happen all the time, and it's up to you how you're going to deal with it, how you're going to respond. Yeah. And I chose to start owning up and respond differently, and you get results because of that. Yeah. And you'll hear, most of the best guys in the world at their craft are all going to say that they're going to say the most common stuff that you hear them all say, and everybody's looking for the secret on how you can get there. But you'll hear them all say pretty much the same thing about putting in the work, being disciplined, focusing on the things you control, doing all the right things over and over. And that's that process. They're like, trust the process. And people are like, it's a process a pill I can take? How can I skip this process? Sure. No, you got to do it. And it's going to suck a lot of times, but you got to trust that you're doing the right things with the right people, and you're holding yourself accountable, and you're holding the people around you accountable, and you're going to grow no matter what. Yeah. It's not a fucking secret. Yeah. You just got to put in the work. You got to be around the right people that you got to know when to end relationships that are not, there's no real benefit there. And it's not, not as far as like, you shouldn't look for things that are benefit, but people can bring you down. Yeah. And you got to know when to like, all right, if I'm trying to be here and they're not trying to be here, when do I just like, all right, I got to back off a little bit. Right. There's a group of people over here that are already where I want to be. And I put myself in I'm the low man on the totem pole, but you put yourself in that fire with them every day, you will become that person. Yeah. There's no real secret to it. The secret is, there's no secret to it, but the thing is, it's just being consistent on everything, your physical, your mental preparation. It's not a one-off thing. You can't just do it once and expect it to work forever. Yeah. If you want to be good at something, you have to be consistently doing the right things over time. Yeah. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that and not do something special. Yeah. Yeah. But are you willing to do it? Right. Are you willing to do it when you don't? Like motivation, man. Motivation is not a real thing. Yeah. I'm motivated to do things for one day. The next day I wake up sore. I'm not motivated to do it anymore. Yeah. But if you have an idea and a goal in mind, you're going to fucking do it. Again. Or you're going to find an excuse. Yeah. Yeah. And say, oh, is that? And you're never going to be great at anything. Right. So
then you'll make an excuse for it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And some people are okay with that. And then until the day they die, they made all these excuses and why it couldn't happen for me.
It's a fucking nightmare, dude.
And they left nothing for anybody else. They did nothing special with anything they had. But they were okay with that because they were able to make an excuse for single thing that happened in their life.
Well, they avoided pain. They avoided the pain of truth. The truth of, I'm not as good. I haven't prepared as good as I could have. I'm not the husband that I could be. I'm not the son, etc. Whatever. Yeah. They do not want to engage with that truth because it is fucking painful. Yeah. Yes, of course, it is painful. That's the whole point. And I think what it sounds like with your mentality coach was that he was able to do it chunked at a time, like a little bit at a time, rather than just ripping the wound open.
And that's what I thought. When I started doing it, I was like hoping after a couple of them, like, oh, I'm going to have a completely different mind frame. And with that, you learn with everything else, even with the mental side of it. It's like you can't read some inspirational quote on the wall and think that that's going to get you by. Yeah. You can't put up some fucking lion quote with a quote in front of a lion and be like, I'm that fucking guy, unless you do that shit every day. You know what I'm saying? It's not a one-off thing. It's something that, and you have to build up on it, and it's not going to, you probably won't see a change right away, but you slowly build these habits, these mental reps that you can put yourself through, these mental habits that you can put yourself through, just like you do when you're training a technique. Yeah. You do it over and over. You don't just do it once like, I'm fucking great at it. You can't do it mentally either. It's something that you have to do all the time. And like I said, if I do not find time, and anytime I'm feeling these certain situations, to put myself in those positions mentally, to redirect those thoughts, you will fall off. Just like anything else. You could go in the gym, you eating potato chips. What do you think's gonna fucking happen? You're gonna get fat.
Not
you know
good.
What I'm saying? Things. It's all consistent reps, no matter what, for whatever goal you have, and you have to be willing to do that. And if you're not willing to do that, then you can't be mad about the results you didn't get.
Yeah, for sure. And life is dynamic, right?
Yeah.
Humans are dynamic. It's continually changing. So like you said, I need to revisit that book. It's like, yeah, of course, because where you were here when you started, like you've moved forward and changed, and your children are getting older, and you and your wife are getting closer, and you're still training, your gym's getting bigger. Everything's shifting all the time, and
it's always
you have
evolving.
to readdress it. Yeah, it's always evolving. And that goes back to your mentality of the sport itself, or the art itself is. If we can train this way, and it is a strategy to get super fucking good at one thing, but the sport, this one in particular, is changing all the time, and it's changing on a level far beyond, say, basketball or something like that. It is a hydra of some sorts that it's spiraling off in all different directions, and there's 10th Planet, and there's this Gracie, and there's this and that, and it's just what is going on, YouTube and everything. I think so. If you don't want to, like if you don't take it like you are, you're gonna get left behind. Yeah,
that's pretty much with anything that you do when you want to be great at something, and you have people in that field who are great, and you just expect to do a little bit and expect to get those results. And if you listen to any one of those people, they're probably going to be somewhat. And I'm not in the league with like any of those guys. I just know, I understand what it took to get them there, and it's up to me to keep continuing to do that. But I understand there's commonalities there for anything you want to be great 100%. At. Like what I'm saying is probably they're going to say something very common to that, and there's no secret. And for every time you see somebody do something great, like I saw a quote. Speaking of quotes, a quote the other day, like it was Usain Bolt. He said he trained 4 years to run 9 seconds. Something like that. Wow. Nobody sees the fucking 4 years. They see the 9 seconds. Like, I want to do that. Okay, you ready to work 4 years for it? Yeah. At least 4 years for it? And I'm like, what? What do you mean? 4 years? Yeah. I can't do it for a couple months. I'm gonna no, man. It's fucking every day. Every day. And I think another thing that happens is you see these. You don't see the work, but you get to see the results. Yeah. All the time now because of social media, and then you get into the comparison thing. Why am I not getting this because of them? But there's a lot of shit that unless somebody's documenting everything of their day, there's a lot of stuff that you don't see, a lot of work that they're going to put in that they're not putting out there. Right. So you're just seeing these results and a little bit of their training. You're like, I kind of train like that. Yeah, that's what it is. And that's another funny thing you say that is like, I'd watch these guys highlight reels I was facing, and it's like, yeah, they're putting out their best shit. The best. That's a moment in a match, and that could have been a 9-minute match where they weren't fucking doing anything. Yeah. But you're willing to watch their best shit, and you're going to gauge how they're going to be because of their best shit. So yeah, there's all this stuff you don't see, and when you hear things like that with the 4 years to 9 seconds, it just really puts that in perspective. It's like you have to be consistently working towards that goal, doing the right thing, surrounding yourself with the right people. And as much as that sounds like that's a lot to do, it's really not that hard. It's really not. Yeah. I mean, it's simple. It's the idea sometimes is very simple. Sometimes it's hard to execute for sure. It's hard to. There's going to be times where it's going to suck, but if you truly want something, that is the path. Yeah, that is the path, and things can evolve, and it can get easier to get there. Like technique and ways of training have evolved to get better at techniques quicker. That's I think another thing about why jiu-jitsu is still in that exploding phase is it's still fairly new to us. I think I feel like it's just infinite. There's so much shit you can do. Yeah. There's only so much you can do in other sports. Yeah. And there's so many rules. In NBA, there's what kind of helps jiu-jitsu and what kind of doesn't help it is, okay, I don't like points, I'm going to do sub only. You know what I'm saying? I think the one thing that hurts jiu-jitsu with that is there's no real unified rule set that's going to take it, because how you're going to have somebody watch a W&O on a Friday night and then go to a tournament on Saturday, and it's going to look completely different. Even though it's jiu-jitsu, it's two different rule sets, and they're going to have no fucking idea what's going on if they're not doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So if you're trying to get spectators, it's going to be hard to like dial it in because there's not a unified rule set. But because of that, I think it allows for so much more dynamic jiu-jitsu because there's different strategies for different tournaments. Right. So I think it definitely has its place. Yeah. Because the way I would do a sub-only match is not quite how I would do a points match. I wouldn't be so urgent if somebody had passed my guard and there's no points. I would take my time a little bit more because there's no fucking points. I still got 8 minutes. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to... Your personal strategy. Wild. Yeah, and I'm not going to hold certain positions. I'm going to look for certain things more when the lights go off than I would in a tournament when there's 15 seconds left and I'm up by advantages and I might just have to hold this position and there's 15 seconds left in a sub-only match. I'm diving on the fucking armbar. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So the things change a little bit, and I think that definitely helps jiu-jitsu grow. I think if it was ever going to be mainstream, which maybe it will, maybe it won't, I think it would have to be a little bit more unified. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's awesome where it's at. I think 100%. It's going to keep growing. I don't give a shit if it's ever in the Olympics. I don't. the Olympics fuck a lot of sports up, change a lot of rules.
Yeah.
I think what it did for judo really, they changed things. I don't know if that was the Olympics, but back early Olympic days, early 2000s, you could do single legs and double legs, and you have good wrestlers come over and beat really good judokas, and they're like, well, now you can't touch the legs.
That way. Yeah.
Now you can't do it. Like, oh, okay, well, you just fucking de-evolved judo a little bit.
Limited it a little bit more.
Which maybe it made it better for the throws, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be way off on that subject, but
yeah.
I think they both have their place, having that unified. If you want people that are not ever going to do jiu-jitsu to watch it, you can't be watching multiple different things. They're going to get confused and shut it off.
Yeah.
Something's got to be unified, which if they're going to keep doing like a W&O on flow grappling, I think they need to stick to that because it's pretty fucking badass. And if you're getting viewers on that, don't change it up.
Yeah.
Like keep pushing that kind of, and maybe one day it'll really, really blow up, but it's still fairly new. And now you're getting these kids that come up that can drop out of school early and do it full time because now you can get paid. You're finally getting paid to do it. You're getting sponsors. And I love to see it because jiu-jitsu is just going to get better and better and crazier and crazier and just going to keep evolving. And it's so crazy because you'd see these like 21, 22-year-olds who last year were the hot things and they're young. And then you see a 16-year-old come out of nowhere and it's like, this kid's only 22 and this kid's 16 and he's fucking smoking this kid. And this kid was the hot piece, but jiu-jitsu is evolving at such a rate and the way they're training and the strategies and it's just insane right now. And I don't know if it'll slow down, but I think it's awesome to see. And that's also why I like sometimes, and this could be an excuse. Now I'm 34. I'm like, man, you know what? Maybe going with them 20-year-olds, I'm not going to do it this time. Maybe I'll stick up with the 30s, Right. But I'm looking, like my very first match at black belt was against a guy named Finfal, who's a 5-time world champion. It's at an IBJJF No-Gi Worlds. I lost, if you didn't know, because I don't win at Worlds. But I was standing, like this was a guy I used to watch all the time. And then I was standing in front of him. And it was in a master's division. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They talk about the adult division being where it's at. Yeah. And I think it really is at all the color belts. But when you start getting in the black belt, like I'm standing across a guy I grew up watching. He was a black belt when I started. Oh my God. You telling me this ain't going to be fucking hard because I'm in Master 1? Yeah. This is insane. Yeah. Now I'm fighting. I hate saying fighting. Jiu-jitsu to me is not a fight. Yeah. The tournaments are not a fight. You see these guys talking about, I had 3 fights. You didn't fucking fight anybody. You played a game. Right. I don't see a mark on your face. There was never potential for you to knock your fucking teeth out and get a concussion. Sometimes there is, but these guys talk about fights. I don't get the fuck out of here. You had a match. Right. Sorry. But I was about to say, but I like at black belt masters, it doesn't matter where you're at, Master 1, Master 2, Master 3. You got these guys that are like, these guys were black belts when they were 18. Oh, geez. And now we're the same age. Right. And I'm like, I started when I was 18. This guy was a fucking black belt when I started. He's been a black belt longer than you've been alive. You're going to tell me that the adults, they're crazy too, but at black belt, man, it's like, I've seen guys that go up in a Master 1, come back down, and win at that division. It's like they're very sharp at that level. They're guys that have been black belts forever. So it's to me, the age thing matters a little bit less at black belt, and in the earlier belts, I think it's a little bit different. But when you're facing a guy like, I could at any point in time have Sanji Rivera in my division. He's got 7 world titles at adult black belt. You know what I'm saying? He could be at my division anytime. I've seen him in my division multiple times, and you're gonna tell me that's. Like I shouldn't be as worried because I'm not in the adult division. Yeah. Right? How many of those adults have 7 world fucking titles? You know what I'm saying? That means something. So I don't think it matters. They both have their place. I don't think it matters as much at black belt. It's just insane that the level it's getting to. Yeah. And the level is going to continue to grow each and every year. And you're going to keep seeing these phenoms that are training right now that are about to hit that space, and it just gets younger and younger. You got that kid Mika Galvao, who I think just turned 18, who's probably one of the best, if not the best black belt in the world. You know what I'm saying? It's insane. That's wild. They got the resources for it now. They can do it full time, and I think it's a beautiful thing. And I'm hoping one day that in our area I can build something. I want kids to come. I want to find those kids that, or these guys that really want to dedicate their time. And you see like the pedagogue guys where they have guys living in the gym. Like I'm not past that, man. Yeah. I want those guys to come in. I would love to see what I could do with a guy that wants nothing to do but jiu-jitsu. Yeah. I would love to see where I could do something like that. Like that's a whole project because, it's very blue collar. Like everybody goes to work and comes trains. It's very rare. You don't have any full timers up there. Yeah, yeah. Everybody has a job. Everybody has responsibilities outside of that. I've yet to have a guy that's like, all right, man, I'm a blank slate. Let's fucking see what happens. And eventually, hopefully, we'll get there. But you've got those kids now, and they're coming up to where all they do is sleep, eat, train, and it's just I think that's why it's evolving as fast as it
wild.
is, because you're really seeing what potential you have if you really take it serious.
Yeah.
And you have the time to take it serious, and your only responsibility is to win titles. Yeah, it's gonna get pretty wild out there. The technique's gonna go through the roof, and I love it. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you said it best. It's a great time for the sport. It's a great time to be a part of it. It's a great time to observe others and just be like, what did he do? Or you know, I don't think we've ever had this many women involved in a martial art. Cool. You know, it's a really cool time to be a part of jiu-jitsu and just martial arts in general, but particularly jiu-jitsu. It's cool
to train it, be a black belt, compete, and still be a fan. I love it. I love watching it just as much as I love doing it. And I everything you just said, I think it's. You know, even with the women and them finding their own spots in there, because it's very intimidating for women, especially if you're coming there by yourself and you see nothing but men in there. And I think that's why women's only classes have their place. Sure. We offer those at our gyms up in Kansas City, me and my buddy David, and we've got some great girls because of it that otherwise would have never gave it a shot, right? Because they weren't around. It's very intimidating, and if you're in the wrong culture and you got the wrong person in there, it can be a very bad experience.
It can be traumatizing,
for
and
sure. I've seen it, and I've had some bad shit happen because of it. I've seen what the bad side of that. If you've got a bad apple in there and you let them get a hold of one of these vulnerable women, and what could fucking happen, and it's disgusting. Yeah. So it's if you got a good culture in your gym and you offer something like that, you'll be surprised. Like it's crazy to see everything grow the way it has. That particular case for sure with the women, and them finally have an opportunity to train something like this when they probably need it for self-defense purposes, probably the most. What positions are they going to be in when they're defending themselves? They're not going to box a dude. Yeah. Dude's probably trying to do something dirty to him. What is that? You're on the ground. You're laying down. Yep. So you're going to need it the most.
Yeah, 100%.
So I love to see the growth of that, and I love to try to do my part to make them feel comfortable enough to give them a chance to learn how to defend themselves. You know, they don't ever have to. None of my students ever have to compete. It's not. It's not a requirement. Right. It's never going to be. They're all in there for their own reasons. But it all comes back to the same thing for me: is you are taking time out of your day to be there. You're paying dues to be there. I don't care. Like I said, you're a woman, man, world champion, a guy that's in his 40s that's learning. We're going to be intentional. We're going to work, because I do have those people in my gym that need to learn how to defend themselves. Those women that need to build that confidence in defending themselves, and I cannot be wasting their time. Yeah. I can't have that on my conscience. You know, if something happens and because I fucking was too lax, didn't make them drill something, didn't let it take it very serious, and now they're hurt because of it. Yeah. Nope, not because of me, man. I'm not gonna allow it. Wow. And I'm glad I'm that way, and it rubs a lot of people wrong, but it's what it is, man.
No, man, I admire that. I admire that so much, and just talking to you right now and hearing like the mentality, your mentality. The way that you operate your gym is like, man, I want to go to that gym. Yeah. I think that's a great place. Yeah. I love that. We're 3 hours in, bud.
Jesus.
We ripped through it.
That flew.
Isn't that wild? Once you get going, dude, it's just.
I was about to ask, like, I haven't checked anything, so I'm just talking. I'm like, we're an hour in, right?
That's one of the things I love about the podcast most. Like, when have you just sat down for 3 hours and just talked?
You really don't get a chance to.
You grab your phone, someone interrupts. It's like uninterrupted. Yeah. That was one of the weirdest things when I first started, probably the first 20 episodes. Like, I had never talked, I'd never allowed my ideas to like fully form. I'd always get interrupted and so I'd start spinning out. I'd be like halfway down an idea and I'm like, where am I right now? And then over time it's like, wow, getting an entire idea out is really nice. Yeah. And then getting an entire idea back and just, that ebb and flow is, you don't get that in real life very often. You do every once in a while, but not very often.
I had no idea that we were doing it that long. I was just having you're right. It's very rare that you get a chance to have conversations like this and understanding that you've allowed yourself time to have this conversation. Yeah.
And work through things.
And you could just talk.
Yeah. Work through things in real time.
Yeah.
I love it.
Hopefully we got a lot out of it.
Oh, I love it.
People get a lot out of it. There's a lot I wanted to say, but I'm glad I said what I said and I meant everything I said. So hopefully, whoever watches this gets a lot out of it. Yeah, I think they will. I did, at least, and I appreciate you sitting down with me. Like
I said, we've rolled a little bit. Yeah. I didn't really know you, but I've enjoyed immensely talking to you and hearing your stories and really, motivational story, inspirational story. Yeah. And then just your worldview in general, like that to me is like, dude, I'd like to take that and apply that to my own worldview. Yeah. Good. So thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Do you want to shout out to anybody coming out to your gym?
Yeah. I'll just say I just opened my gym up in Independence, Missouri. It's called Pirata Jiu Jitsu, right outside of Kansas City. It just opened we're about 3 months in, and it's been you know, for anybody that can say anything about like opening a business and how hard it could be, and it's been a blessing because
Awesome.
I feel like I'm doing what I should be doing.
Yes.
And I'm doing it for myself and I'm doing it for my community. So if you ever have a chance if you're in Kansas City and there's a lot of awesome gyms there, and I ask that you go to whatever one fits you, but if you happen to come into mine, I'd be happy to have you. Pirata Jiu Jitsu, Independence, Missouri. We also have my good friend, my teammate, David Vava. He owns Body Fit. That's our other team. If you're in Midtown, it's about 30 minutes away from me in downtown Kansas City out by the plaza. That's another great place to train. He's like-minded. Get after it the same way. If you enjoyed what you heard here, you would have a great time there. Anything else, man? That's all I can think of right now. I'm just very, you know, to my students, to anybody that believed in me over the years and really took to this and understand where I'm trying to take it. I want to, you know, that motivates me to keep doing it anytime I have moments to where, you know, because a lot of this is guessing to me, and I'm trying to find out the right path. Having little success stories and people really buy in and show me that I'm doing the right thing makes this process of stepping out and opening my business much easier because I see the goodness I'm putting out there, and I will continue to do that until the day I die. So
Hell yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Devin, thank you. I'm
you,
happy
man.
to be a part of a sport that you're part of as
yeah,
well,
man.
man.
I appreciate
love
that. Yeah, man. I'm glad because of a sport like that, it brought us here in this moment. We can have
Yes.
this conversation because who knows? We probably would not know each other at all
Probably
if it
not,
wasn't
yeah.
meeting at David's gym. So, you know, the things that can come out of a sport like that is not just learning the actual jiu-jitsu, but the relationships you build. So I appreciate you having me, man. This has been an awesome time, obviously, because I thought we were an hour in. So
Yeah.
talk for 3 hours about jiu-jitsu has been great.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Anytime. You can come back anytime.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Alrighty. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Episode number 71. Devin Pirata, right?
Yes, sir.
Pirata. Hit him up in outside of Kansas City, Independence, Missouri. Missouri, right?
Missouri. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Motown, the other one in Motown. So lots of good jiu-jitsu out there. You do seminars or anything?
I haven't really focused on it
For a
too
while.
much. Just trying to get the gym open, but I'm always
Sure,
open to
yeah.
something if anybody wanted to have me out.
you go.
And I'm always open to doing something like that. If I could help anybody with jiu-jitsu, if they want to learn from me, I'd be willing to do it.
Hell yeah. Start a YouTube channel.
I should. I've
cool.
been talking about it for years.
Yeah.
I should.
One of these days.
Yeah.
Alrighty, hit me up again on Sci-Fi and Friends if you have guests that you want to come on. Down in the link below, there's places you can donate, Bitcoin, your dirty US dollar, whatever you got. Any donations are very thankful, or very grateful for any donations that you give out. So I think that's it. I don't think there's any other announcements going on. We just started April. We got some good guests coming on later in April. Yeah, we'll get after it. So thanks for listening. Love all y'all. Peace.
Prize that all, no it ain't what you need, come on, just pay the fee, I supply it all, went up the mountain and it wasn't hard to climb at all, at the top I found some relief, you see, so please don't mess up the mood, yeah. I worked too hard for it, no I need to beat it, oh you mess up the mood, alright, ooh, I worked too hard for it, and I need it, so please don't mess up the mood, don't mess up the mood. Don't mess up the mood. Yeah. Oh, come on. I work too hard for it. Yeah. Don't mess up the mood.
Sci-Fi wins.